Welcome everyone to my third interview. I'm here with my friend Dovid Rabinowitz. I'm very, very excited to talk with him. And we're going to continue with the topic we left off. Not left off, but it's a juicy, a lot what to talk about. Juicy topic about schools and chinuch. So yeah, Dovid, how was the school system for you?
Okay, jumping right in. I actually had a really great yeshiva experience. I would actually like to start with that. Yeshiva for me, it overall was really good. I don't think I was the best student, but I definitely think that I was always able to participate in learning and in class, and that I think that goes a very long way to how much you enjoy yeshiva. I see the people who don't enjoy yeshiva, a lot of it they don't feel part of it. You don't feel part of the learning, whatever it is, and maybe they haven't found their area that they love. So you can not like something and still feel part of it, and it be enjoyable.
Really? Now explain that. I actually not sure what you mean by that.
I think if you don't like learning Gemora, for instance, I Gemora is not really my thing. I don't like learning Gemora, but I was able to learn Gemara, I was able to participate in class, and class wasn't dreadful. It wasn't the highlight of my day, as long as I had something else to highlight my day. But overall, it was fine.
So would you categorize yourself as in the middle, so to say? It wasn't. I mean, obviously there are parts of yeshiva that you liked, but overall, you were able to pull through.
No, I would say more optimistic than that. I think that overall is 20% of people who excel at yeshiva. The way the system is set up, and they were born for this. They're learning 12 hours a day, and that's what they do. If they didn't have yeshiva, they'd be in the library 12 hours a day. They'd be reading a novel. That's just who they are as people. And yeshiva feeds them. It's amazing for them. I don't think I'm part of the 20%, but I think I'm right outside of it. So I think it's maybe a 40% in the middle who are fine with yeshiva. They learn some classes. They don't learn the whole day. They learn a lot of the day. They take a lot out of yeshiva. There's a lot they gain from yeshiva. They enjoy learning. They just can't learn 8 to 12-hour days. But they're still they're still able to learn a bunch. They're able to participate in class, and I think I'm part of that. Maybe closer to the, excuse my word, nerdier side. But yeah, I think I was there, and I think that yeshiva was amazing. Learning was amazing. It was very fun overall. Even the parts I didn't enjoy so much, looking back, they were fun. And yeah.
Wow, it's interesting. So you hear from a perspective where it's not it's totally catered for you, but you still enjoyed it. That's interesting. And that was through all the years of yeshiva. I mean, I also with my brother, I kind of separated between yeshiva and yeshiva katan, yeshiva gdela, which is different, and then there's also elementary.
So that's interesting. So elementary actually had a very weird history for me, at least. So I had a very bad elementary. It was terrible. Yiddishkeit wise, even not Yiddishkeit wise, actually. The school is really falling apart. It closed 2 years after I left it.
Wow. So that's
we had lack of teachers sometimes. Just a period where no teacher showed up.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's a unique situation, I guess. That's it.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, honestly, I don't know how unique it is. I think that a lot of schools are struggling right now with teachers.
Yeah. Absolutely. It just that school that you went to was that's it. They broke.
They broke.
Yeah, but everywhere I hear that there always some way or another there's some lacking a teacher. So can you be more specific at how that experience was with the teachers and with I
don't think I felt it so apparent. It's a few things. One is that we didn't have Chassidush wasn't a concept growing up. It's crazy to think about. We didn't know anything about Chassidush. I remember one time.
Do you want to say where you're from? I don't know if that.
Oh, I'm from Ottawa, Canada. Yeah. And okay. Just for anyone there now, it's changed a lot from what I hear. It's doing really good. I hear everything is great, amazing. I just want to say that. But when I was there growing up, the community was going into a lot of transition. It was a Litvish community that moved out, so that was affecting it, and like the schools actually joined together, like the Chabad school and the once was Litvish school ended up joining together. So like it was this weird intimate period where like Chabad was like redefining itself there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was interesting. Um,
How did that change? Did you see a change when before they connected with the so-called Litvish school and after? What was the main
I
difference?
wasn't really in town. Like I left yeshiva, I didn't really stay in like into the politics and into what was going on. I only have like my perspective as a kid viewing it, and like after that, like just about hearing rumors and hearing conversations of other people. Like I'm not part of it anymore.
I want to ask you. This is more of like less personal, but more of like I don't know what you would call Haskalah. Uh, what? Why is it? Do you think it's so important to have a Chabad school? And I'll add to that because I know families that when they have a choice between a Chabad school and it's usually, lack of a better word, a Palisher school or something like that. The Palisher school is a lot more.
Chassidush.
No, not just the Chidush. No, that's not my focus. I'm more pointing out how they're isolated, but I'll even say in a good way, because especially like we know what's going on now in the world, and I mean, yeah, like in the Chabad school, there's exposure to movies and the v'chulu v'dal that it's not in the Palisher schools, and so therefore there's some Chabad families that send into the Palisher schools, and I'll just give my quick opinion on that. I think I think it's so what I want to ask you is what do you think is better? Also, but so I personally think it's better. But what do you? It's better to send to a Palisher school. What do you think?
So I do think that there are Chabad values. I do think that there's such a thing as Chabad values that are unique to Chabad. And I think that like a kid who goes to another school that doesn't have that and then tries to join a Chabad yeshiva is at a disadvantage. I wouldn't say it's like, an unsurmountable wall or anything like that, but I do think it's a disadvantage. But that being said, just because the school is Chabad doesn't mean that it has Chabad values. You might have closer to Chabad values going to a not Chabad school.
Exactly. That's
And
my
Chabad is a movement, and I'm saying it's not just a philosophy, but it's also like a culture, and it's also identity for people, and like there's a lot to it. And like you can go to a school that's absolutely terrible, and not be able to integrate into yeshiva at all. Then you can go to a not Chabad school, a Hamish school, and then have surprisingly a lot of Chabad values in there.
Mm-hmm.
And also other amazing values, right? It's not. I'm just trying to say, joining a Chabad yeshiva, the advantages that come with that, like the difficulty, and it could be like the answers that the student, the kid, will like never join a Chabad yeshiva and will also excel with the other values, and it's also not a failure. It's also a successful route. So
he's still Chabad, but he throughout the whole school system, including yeshiva, he's in a non-Chabad school.
Yeah.
I know some people. There's some people like that. There's like even less, but there exists. And I think there, like you started off saying, there is a disadvantage, and that's for sure. For sure, there's a disadvantage. But I believe when you weigh it out, the pros and cons, I think the pros outweigh the cons. That it's better to go to a Palisher school than a Chabad school. Would you agree?
I think it's like very dependent on like the case. Like I don't think you can make a general rule. I think there's some students, like for example, if you had someone who's like very like a good student, very innocent, and like the school was not as the school, but say his class was not, you'd be like, no, that's the worst place for him is that class, and you would put him anywhere else where the students weren't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like it could be like a kid, like to be honest, they go to another school and they don't have the proper social skills as well. They would get bullied, and that would be a horrible situation. So you wouldn't say like some kind of black and white rule, like send them to like the purest place isn't necessarily the right answer when it comes to kids chinuch.
No, so let's make an extreme case. Let's say not only the Palisher school has is innocent in a sense of they're closed off. They only have good exposure. but they also, I mean, the classmates they don't bully each other, which is very important. The teachers are much more caring and attentive. Let's say all those qualities, but let's say the only disadvantage is the fact that they're not Chabad values, whatever that is, which we could have a discussion what that is even. And then you have the Chabad school, which is lacking. It has a lot of bullying, a lot of chutzpah, not caring enough, not attentive enough to the students. So in that situation, that's the situation I'm
I
talking
think
about.
that's very clear, right? Like, end of the day, it's like I don't think the value of school is so much what you learn. Even though, especially at like the younger grades, even though the I would say this, the least value is what you learn, and higher is your learning skills. Like,
Mm-hmm.
more important than that. But most important of all is like your Midos and your social skills.
Thank you.
I think
Absolutely.
now, like, I'm not saying what you're learning isn't important, but
Yeah,
it's not as important as your learning skills.
exactly.
I actually
I don't.
had
Yeah, I
a
don't hear that
classmate.
enough.
Oh, I had a classmate that he was in yeshiva, and like yeshiva didn't work out for him. Whatever. I don't want to like identify him, but he ended up going to a not religious school,
Mm-hmm.
and he was behind in learning because like he never learned any of the secular stuff, so he was behind his class, and now he was going into like a high school level of learning. But like he had enough learning skills that he was able to like he struggled for like 3-4 months, and then he shot up above the rest of the class because like his learning skills were actually higher. And I'm not just saying like knowledge wise something like that, but like
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
he's also a smart guy, but like end of the day is like the learning skills I think have higher value. I think you see it again and again with like people going to university from yeshiva. It's like yeshiva doesn't like you don't have any knowledge of a lot of stuff, but you end up with like it depends how you do yeshiva, but you could end up with great learning
Yes,
skills and great learning habits that like if you take them into like university or into the secular world, they actually give you it takes some time to catch up, but once you catch up, you're actually at a great advantage over other people who don't have necessarily those same learning skills.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
it's the
critical
skills.
thinking.
How did you find personally how the school gave you the skills?
So I think that when it came to like the learning skills for like Gemora, Halocha, like the wall that I had to go over, I think was very large. I think that I'm a pretty smart guy, but I still think that there was a large wall there. Just because like, I was learning Gemara for 45 minutes a day until I was in 8th grade, which I did an hour and a half. And there was people there in like Alter Rebbe who do like 3-4 hours a day. They just a full day of Limud Chidush. Like that difference is large. Like it's not it's not an easy wall to climb
Mm-hmm.
for anyone. Um, you know, um, I also went to Toronto Mesifta, so there was like it wasn't like such an easy level of learning to begin with, but yeah, like I do think that there was a big difference there in levels of learning that I had to overcome, and I think that like that is a big disadvantage. And like I said actually in the beginning, like if you're not getting what's going on in class, yeshiva isn't fun. Like if you can't do the class,
Yeah.
yeshiva is just not fun. Like it's no one wants to be failing at life,
Mm-hmm.
especially not a teenager or a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's that challenge there of getting up to the level of learning. So like that's a major challenge. But I think that like in the general learning skills, like I had it, like I was able to catch up. I was able to like exert myself and catch up. So there was, I guess, enough critical learning skills there that I was able to integrate.
That's great. Do you know how? Can you explain more specifically how they taught you that the skill itself?
Um, it's interesting. I think that my Gemara teacher, Rabbi Botnick, um, he focused on the skills. Like he knew it. Like he was like, look, I'm teaching you guys 45 minutes a day. There's no way you guys are gonna be able to join yeshiva normally. So he just focused on skills. We didn't focus on material covered at all. I was just focused on skills to learn Gemara, which went a very far way.
Wow,
Um, yeah, I think that they emphasized it. I think they knew their flaw and they focused on it. Was
that's
the
amazing. I feel like when you have so much quantity of learning, then it's almost forgotten. I mean, I thought personally in school the main thing was the material. I was like was a total. They gave off the impression that the successful student is someone who knows the knowledge, the material, which is like from the three things that you mentioned, is the least important. And
I mean, it's very easy to measure, right? If I were to measure you in school, like, how would I measure you?
yeah, it's the knowledge is the easiest way. Exactly.
I mean, it's actually, I don't think it's the only thing we measure by. I think we actually measure by social skills the most because we punish people who misbehave in class, right?
Well, okay, that in itself, okay,
That's a strong emphasis, right? Like there's a punishment. Like if you fail a test on one test, you don't get punished or whatever. But you scream out in class one time, or you talk back to the teacher. At least the way it should be is that you get punished for that. So I do think that is the most, the biggest focus. It's just more natural that you don't feel that you're being educated in the same way. But it's probably the most important education you get.
okay. So how come it seems to be lacking in Chabad schools?
I don't know. I think that it stems back to lack of teachers and lack of teachers who really are good at teaching and want to teach.
Yeah.
There's just a shortage of it. It doesn't help that they're not paying enough.
Yeah, you think if they pay them more, if they pay them more, it wouldn't solve the problem? No, not that they pay them more. The fact that they paid more to teachers who are actually good.
Well, they don't have to pay people a lot of money. I also think that's a misconception. I don't think just dumping in more money is the right answer. But a teacher shouldn't have to be on mesiras nefesh when he takes the job. It shouldn't be mesiras nefesh that, you know what? I believe in teaching so much, I'm going to struggle to feed my family. That doesn't make sense to me. But we don't have to pay a lot of money either. There has to be some kind of middle ground where it's worthwhile to teach. But it's actually a study. I think it's an experiment, a social experiment that was done. I don't remember where I heard this. I heard it years ago. But they had 3 groups of kids, and they were selling. They had to sell for a charity or something like that. And the first group of kids, they said that's it. You're just selling for the charity. You believe in it, sell it. And I don't know, they weren't that successful. The kids weren't that into it. Right? We're going to keep all the profits. You're going to sell, and it's going to go to the charity. The next group of people, I have to remember exactly. You know what I think about? I think the first one was for profit. The kids were selling for profit, for someone else or something like that. The next group was for a charity. And the next group got paid 10% of what they earned. So they had incentive to do it. And then the next group got paid 15%. And the comparison, the shocking number was when you're doing it for personal causes, it was very ineffective. No one wanted to do it. When you're doing it for charity, people wanted to a little bit. When you're doing it for charity and you got benefit, people wanted to do it even more. But it didn't scale upwards. It wasn't they gave them more money. They had to give them a significant amount of money to make even a small impact. So once they're making that 10 or was it 20%, whatever the experiment was, the kids were happy doing it. Once they started getting more, they didn't care that much. And I think it's the same thing with teaching. You have to believe in it, to be a great teacher, and you have to get paid fairly. But I don't think it scales more. I don't think we're gonna get the best teachers if we offer teachers $200,000. I don't think we're gonna get the best teachers that way. I think if we pay teachers enough that they can feed their family comfortably, and depending on where you live, that number changes. In New York, that number might be $100,000, but outside of New York, the number is probably gonna be significantly lower. But just the fact that a family should be able to be supported on 1.5 teacher salaries.
Wait, what do you mean by that calculation?
I don't know. I guess it's another conversation if the wife should have to work.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I wasn't gonna say anything about that, but I just I guess that's another conversation for what the modern era. I don't know if it's a conversation of what it should be, but what reality is, if that's a realistic expectation that you could feed a household off one income.
Yeah. Okay. So it is veering off to another topic, but we could go there.
But I'm just saying, like going backwards, like I do think that teachers are like mesiras nefesh just to take the job and to get into it, and like I think that's pushing off a lot of good teachers, especially like super capable people who would make amazing teachers. Like they see it right away and they're getting burnt out right away by it. Like if I was a very opportunist and a very hard worker and all of that, I'm like, this is your career, you're gonna max out at like 70K. You might love doing this, but like 70K, and like those days you're gonna be burnt out. It's a hard job. Like that's gonna be very hard to get people into it. Like you might have to work extra hours or take a second job because like it's not going to be enough. You would say, maybe there's something related to this that I can do, or maybe this is the wrong field for me. I just can't afford to do that to my family. I have a wife and kids. So yeah, I do think that there's some kind of like barrier where we're losing the really capable people in such an important job.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you mean to say that if you pay them a little more, it's going to help?
If you pay them fairly, whatever
fairly
means.
Yeah.
I don't think that teachers are being paid fairly, especially a lot of them have to do extra hours and whatnot. I think that if teachers were paid fairly, were paid a comfortable amount to live, I think that would make us a large difference. I don't think anyone should be going into a field mesiras nefesh. I don't think you could sustain an institution on mesiras nefesh.
Yeah.
Mesiras nefesh helps once in a while, but that can't be like the base of your institution.
Once in a while, exactly. Not 24/7.
Yeah, maybe when you started out, like, you know what I mean, like you're starting out of school and you're like, this is what the community needs, mesiras nefesh. Fine, but like that's not a long-term strategy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So that now you pretty much covered elementary. Now, I mean, we started off by yeshiva. So in yeshiva, so now, do you have enough skills? Do you have enough skills? And also, I guess, are you a mensch when you come into yeshiva? I guess I'm asking both in a personal and in general.
I don't think anyone's a mensch at age 14.
What?
Like the best behaved kids, they're just quieter. They're not like.
Is that a problem?
No, I think that's just natural. I don't think like you can change that. Like I was just hearing like some yeshiva bachurim speak, and like it was just so horrible. Like the way they were talking, and like it was arrogant and rude, and like I don't think they're gonna be like that as adults. I think they're gonna become like normal people, and like I think that I think you learn how to empathize with other people, and like just by like experiencing more life. Like you can educate someone from today to tomorrow, but like unless they've experienced it, it's very hard. Like little stuff, like with the delivery man. This is like the conversation I heard. I heard like the bacher making fun of the delivery man. Right? Horrible, right?
Yeah.
And like I empathize with the delivery man. He's a hardworking guy who's doing it for his family. Like end of the day, like there's a certain level of respect I have for the delivery man who's schlepping boxes to feed his family or for himself, whatever it is. There's still a certain level of respect that he's hardworking and whatever. And like the bachrim don't see that. Like they don't appreciate hard work. It's just not a value they have. Only like as you go older and you have to feed a family and you have to start thinking about like other people, and that has like a more major effect on you. You like start learning how to empathize. Or like the hardest person to empathize with as a bacher is on Hala. Like it's the hardest person to empathize with. And like end of the day is like that guy has a family, he needs to feed his family, and like he's trying his best to do his job. Like he often fails, like the same way you often fail, right? And like it's a very hard thing to appreciate until you've taken some role of authority yourself and you've tried it out and you realize just how hard it is to make everyone happy in your role of authority while still, sustaining the position. Like you're like you don't appreciate your own until like you're a counselor in camp.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no, these kids are so bratty. How did my Anhala deal with like 50 of us?
Yeah, exactly. So you're saying that they should just they get it when they get older because they're taking on similar positions, jobs to their authority. But so what type of midas are they supposed to teach in school in either elementary or yeshiva then?
I do think that they teach the midas. I just think that it's more natural. I think like the best learning for like the real world is like the natural, repercussion of things, the natural, like, a kid who talks out of class, being kicked out of class. I think that teaches you a midah. Like if you disturb other people, people aren't going to want you around. And like that's the real in the real world. That's why we do it, right? Like we don't talk over each other. And we give each other respect because or we want respect back, or like for the other person, we want like stuff to work. And like I think that's like a very good, like I think that you naturally learn it. Like you learn hard work because you work hard and you succeed.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you're saying that all the Midos are learned through kind of like punishments.
No, I don't look at them as necessarily punishments. And like hard work wasn't a punishment. Like you study hard for your test and you pass it. Like I think that teaches you, or like you invest in some kind of learning project and like you succeed, you finish the Masechta, and I think that they're both equal. Like it's true. I was giving more negative examples, but like like you study for the Masechta and you finish the Masechta. That's a positive thing. It's energy you invested, and you learned energy, and you learn studying skills. You learn certain things work and certain things don't. Not so can you reflect on it so well, but like there's something in there that tells you about it. And like sometimes the prizes are enough to get you started, or encouragement from friends are enough to get you started. And you also learn about respect, like with your friends, you build like the best friendships that are created in yeshiva, and yeah, it's something you learn. You learn how to be attuned to. I remember all the stupid fights I got into in yeshiva, like they were absolutely stupid, and like after a while, you just learn not to do them. And like I don't know, like this, you learn life by living it and by like taking charge of your life. And I think yeshiva provides an amazing opportunity for that. And sometimes you need guidance. You veer off a little bit. You trash the dorm, and then Hala has to step in and say, "Hey, look, you can't damage public property," or something along those lines. Or you can't sleep your life away. I understand you're not. This is your own lesson, but you want to sleep all day. But sorry, you can't.
So why
sleep all day.
is it that people take it the wrong? So many people take it the wrong way, get turned off by it.
Because you're 14, pretty arrogant. I think it's like a natural. Like teenagers are arrogant. You can't see another belief. You can't see another someone telling you what to do. Like, how dare he tell me to clean up the mess I made? Who does he think he is to tell me? Like, that's between me and the person whose room I trashed. Who is in Hala to step in here? You know what I mean? Like, it's like also like hearing other opinions. Like, as a bacher, it was very hard to hear other opinions, especially when you were definitely wrong. Like there's sometimes you feel they're wrong and you're like, okay, fine. But sometimes you're like, no, you're an absolute idiot. And like in the real world, I don't know how to call it. Like, yeah, you speak to a lot of stupid people, and like, I don't know, it's just like let people live their life and like, but as a teenager, no way, This is another like arrogance.
It's interesting because I heard that Gemora, one of the things Gemora is supposed to teach you is to hear another side's opinion. Something which is very much lacking in social media, because social media feeds you whatever the side that you want to hear.
That's true.
And Gemara forces you to see and understand, like you have to understand both sides, even though you may naturally side with one side. No? So that means Bacham are not copying that skill.
Yeah, I actually think that like it takes time to chop. I remember like hearing arguments on like the lunch table. Like when I was in Zal or Shlichus, I'd hear like arguments in the lunch table by like the younger Bachrim. And like I thought it was really good. Like I was gonna like interrupt and like they were talking about Halocha. And like they were like totally making up Halocha. Like I was gonna like interrupt and be like, hey guys, by the way, one, you should ask a Rav if you have a Halacha question and not debate it over the dining room table. And like two, by the way, this is where it is in Shulchan Aruch. It's actually a pretty clear halacha. But like, end of the day, it was like it was very good for them to argue it out, and like that's how they learn. They argue it out. This guy's like, no way, yes, this, and they open up a Shulchan Aruch, or they ask someone eventually, and then they learn. And like it helped them understand another opinion. It helped them see that they were wrong. They weren't like bullied into it. They like got to express their opinion, got to look it up, and like, oh, okay, I made a mistake. Obviously, there's people who are, they lack even the Midos to do that and like admit they're wrong at the end. But
I've actually never heard that. Yeah, I've never heard someone say, I am wrong. You're right.
You don't have to say it. Nobody says it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're quiet.
They're quiet. Quiet is like the same thing. That's
like, yeah.
from a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, that's a lot. Even an 18-year-old, by the way. Just the like, you know what? I'm not going to press you any further on an issue that I'm obviously wrong about. Like that's like that helps.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
By the way, that's actually amazing that the discussion by the lunch table was that, like, halavai, everyone would discuss, had such discussions by the lunch table. Most of my years in the lunch table were not holy discussions, to say the least.
but that's the interesting. I don't think in yeshiva they're like holy discussions. I think that like it's naturally part of it. Like people like correcting others, and it gives a chance for them to like learn how to do it. It gives people a chance to like I don't think the person did it to be holy. I think the person did it to be annoying. Like if you ask me, but like
Well,
whatever. It was just such a Torah atmosphere in like they were learning halacha, right? So like it made sense that that's what was on his mind, whether he wanted it or not. Like he would have to escape it to not want it. Which
okay, so how come I've rarely seen that in my surroundings in yeshiva?
I don't know. I don't have an answer.
It just happens to be.
It's like a mix. It's like also like who your friends are, what you're looking for. Like the truth is, I probably glossed over a lot of other conversations that like I didn't find as meaningful or as important, right? Like whatever. If someone's talking about the news, like 15-year-olds talking about the news doesn't interest me. Sometimes I listen because like I need to laugh, but like most of the time, like it just doesn't interest me. Even as a bacher, it didn't interest me. Like you could hear they're just like you know, the news article that they heard from their friend in Shul 2 weeks ago isn't gonna like you know, like their very stale version of like like it wasn't like even then it didn't interest me. So like
it's strange where they even get their news from.
That's what I'm saying. Like they spoke to someone at Shul or on Mifsayim, or like and they're like, "Oh, there's a war going on, and this is what's happening." And he went and repeated that exact same opinion. You know, it's like everyone in the yeshiva, anyone who talked to him. It's like, "Look, I heard. Like my opinion is, you know, to try and sound very educated."
Yeah. So even within yeshiva, as I mentioned before, there's a difference between yeshiva katan and yeshiva gdela. How for you was that experience and difference?
So I went to Toronto. Toronto is very strict rules. Again, I haven't been to like a lot of mesiftas. Like I haven't seen that many, but it's pretty strict.
It's known to be probably one of the strictest, definitely chutz. Yeah.
So like there wasn't a lot of like in like freedom to choose your own path. There is room to do it, and like I think.
What do you mean to do your own path?
Like learning wise.
To learn whatever you want.
To learn what you want, yeah. It's like end of the day is like this. Everyone's gonna have certain subjects that click with them more, and like sometimes it's as general as like Gemora or Chassidush, and for some people it's like very specific, like very niche. Like I had a friend, like he loved animals. You actually know him, but and like his passion was animals. Like that's what he wanted to learn about. He wanted to learn about different animals in halacha. Like that's what he wanted. He didn't care if it was Chassidush or halacha. He preferred like halacha or whatever. But like end of the day, it's like that was his passion. And like so, like you're in Mesifta, your schedule is very predetermined and your style is very predetermined. It's actually more like I don't like philosophizing over Gemora. I find it to be like.
Hold on, David. I think it's a little glitched. So I think it's a little behind. Start talking again.
It's also like said in like certain styles of learning.
Okay.
Like when you're learning Gemara, there's different ways to learn Gemara. Like I don't like philosophizing over a Gemara. I find like Gemara, like they had a very clear intent. They knew they wanted a halacha, and that's what they're doing. It's only like now you're going back and trying to like philosophize into like their intent and whatever. I don't think their intent was so like indirect. I think they had like very clear shot things they were trying to say. So like I don't like that style. I like learning a little bit of Hilchasa, seeing like what the outcomes of what they're saying is, as opposed to like their reasoning as much. And like if you're in yeshiva, especially yeshiva ketana, like you're not doing that. Like this is what your teacher is teaching you, and like that's it.
That's really hard. So how did you take that?
But I think that if you succeed overall, you're okay. Like as long as you're not feeling like you're failing, like you're okay in yeshiva.
But is that did you know that before you went in, and did you want that, and do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, I do think that's a good thing. I think that like you're not going to experience the world if you like only go into your niche, like exactly what you love doing. I think like it's very important for you to like experience a few things, be like very much forced into it, and then like it works for you, it doesn't work for you, as long as you like gave your all at it and experienced it. And like also like from what I've heard, like I'm still young, but like I've heard that like people change. I have a friend who's an older guy, and like he used to love like philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
and like now he only does like shuti shomikra, like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't know, I like I used to love philosophy, and now like it just doesn't speak to me anymore. I just want to send pshat, like that's it. Pshat
Wow.
makes me happy. I think like whatever, and like that's it. So like I think that people change. I think like if you like are willing to try things and invest in your whatever opportunity you have in yeshiva. It's like if you're learning Gemara in a certain way and you're like, you know what, this is where I am. I'm gonna give it my all. Like I think it helps you define yourself. I don't think it's like painful. Like it's not fun, but it's not painful as long as you're not failing at it.
Okay, and you don't think the whole day, every day for years is too
Well,
much?
I think that you have to find yourself a part that you love. I think it's like twofold. I think there has to be like you have to be succeeding at like to an extent at everything there, where you're gonna just hate it, or like succeeding at enough that you don't hate yourself
Mm-hmm.
and hate yeshiva. And then there has to be a part that you love that you don't get burnt out, like a way to express your individuality.
Yeah, that
It
that
doesn't
that
have to
sounds
be
nice.
learning.
I don't know if it's in practicality how it is, but it sounds really nice what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, look, it works for some people because some people are like, look, I love learning Gemara, and like I'm learning Gemara, like I have my individuality. I'm learning Gemara, like everyone's learning Gemara, but like I
Yeah.
love Gemara, like that's my thing. But like Chassidush, we learn, it actually think it's very good in Chabad Yeshivas that like we have more than one subject. Like we don't just learn Gemara the whole day, but like we invest significantly into Chassidus. Even other places that learn Chassidus or Musar, like it's not like a limud of its own.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's something you do for like 30 minutes, something you do for like 45 minutes. Like it gives you inspiration. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like a limud. Like in Chabad, you can like sit and like I'm a mamer guy. Like that's it. That's my thing. Like I'll learn a little bit Gemara, but like my passion is mamer. But like for other places, like there isn't enough like learning part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not deep is the wrong word. It's not philosophical enough. It's not it doesn't have a limud.
What are you talking about? The
I'm saying Chassidush. Yeah, like if you're Chassidish, like you're learning like if you look at like I don't know Nachman Svarim or like Degel Machane Ephraim, like you can learn it, but there isn't the same kind of understanding as there is in Chabad Chassidush, and like the Yeshivas definitely don't emphasize it.
It's nice to hear some milos about Chabad Yeshivas.
So like it's very hard to like invest, like make that your personal thing. It's like 45 minutes in the day, and like that's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Even halacha, by the way, like other places don't have the same emphasis on halacha.
That's crazy because we don't have that much halacha either.
So I would say like when it comes to like yeshiva, it's not, but like we do smicha at a certain point. Like other places don't necessarily do smicha. So smicha gives people a certain kind of person a chance to excel.
Which yeshivas are you talking about? Give semicha during yeshiva gdela.
No, I'm saying not in yeshiva gdela, more afterwards.
As so, what do you so? Oh, so at least after yeshiva, they have something that they have.
Yeah, I'm saying you can find your place in learning. That being said, I do think that yeshiva is starting to open up to people doing smicha earlier on. I think Chayvei Torah now,
Yeah, yeah,
they have
yeah,
a smicha program now
yeah,
for
yeah. That was
the.
one of the things I believed in. Yeah, that semicha should be part of yeshiva because then like a lot of people don't end up doing it. It's push it off and all of that.
I don't think it should be part of yeshiva, but I think it should be an option for some people. I think that there should be some yeshivas that do it.
Okay, option. Yeah, at least an option. Yeah.
Like because like again, like everyone has to have that part that they enjoy. Like some people can't find it on their own. And actually, something scarier could happen is that you can find it not in learning and not in like
Yeah.
yeshivas Like not in
Exactly.
a Jewish way. Like
Yeah.
some people who play basketball and like that's the highlight of the yeshiva day.
Hmm.
Like they're good at learning, so they don't hate yeshiva, but they're not passionate about anything Torah related, or I should say God, because honestly Torah, Davvening could be your thing. And then like their highlight of their day is they play basketball during the breaks. And like that's not necessarily a bad yeshiva experience. Like they'll have a positive yeshiva experience. They'll learn, they'll succeed at it, and they'll play basketball.
Subjectively, it was good, but objectively, did
No,
they?
it's not a bad thing actually in a way. Like end of the day is they still like they're gonna come out yeshiva and it's not necessarily with bad Midos. They're gonna come out with the ability to learn. Like if they need like in a lot of ways they'll still be ready for a Jewish life. I don't think they'll be failures. Um, in that sense. But I think that it's tragic on the yeshiva system that person wasn't able to find something in Yiddishkeit, because Yiddishkeit is so large that there's so much in it that I'm sure he could have found something in the right scenario. Like
Do you think? Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Do you
That there's
think
nothing for that.
besides for Semicha, they should implement other things as in the curriculum, as at least as options in yeshiva kana, and for sure yeshiva gdela?
It's very hard question.
Like, and also I want to add to that. Do you think that there's too much Gemara learning in general?
I think Gemara learning is very important.
It is, but to that extent,
I
for the
think
majority.
I think that there might be value on an individual level for there to be alternatives, but not necessarily does every yeshiva have to do it. It's like it's okay if there's different styles of yeshiva, and like some yeshivas will put less emphasis on Gemara and more emphasis on having Halocha or something else in there, even Tanakh. But that's not on like every yeshiva in a way should claim their style and claim who they are, and then the right student should come to that yeshiva. That's very hard to happen. It's more of an ideal than a practical.
No, it's already happening. Like I was mentioning with my brother that they're already, instead of changing the mainstream yeshivas, you don't need to change them necessarily. You just need to open up different types of yeshivas like Jackson Wilkes-Barre that cater to a different style of student. If there are students that need less Gemara and more of other subjects, then you should open a yeshiva like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't think it's like to such extremes. I think there's like a lot of middle ground there. Like I think that like say 20 or 30% are really excelling in like these yeshivas, and we should keep it. Or let's say 40%.
That's very little though. 20-30% is the minority.
Yeah, but it's a large group of people because everyone else is so different. So it's a large group of people this is like amazing for. You have like maybe 10-20% like tops. I'm making up numbers here though. Like that's the truth. I don't have like a statistic.
20-30% is pretty accurate of the Bacham succeeding in yeshiva that are very good for them.
Excelling. There's a difference.
What's the difference? Excelling, they grow. They like it, like it's for them. It's like their styles, personalized.
Yeah, I mean, certain people are hating it in yeshiva. I'm saying I don't think that you have 60% who are hating it in yeshiva.
Yeah, exactly. There's the majority is usually the middle ground. You have 20% that loves it, 20% that doesn't hate it, and then the 60% that's in the middle.
I'd say 20% that hates it or whatever, 10% maybe that hates it, 5% that hates it, like 15% that doesn't like it, whatever.
Yeah, okay, fine. Smaller categories.
60% that like does fine or whatever it is, and like 20% that like excels, like this is them.
So why don't we make different yeshivas for each category?
I think it's a practical aspect of it.
Okay.
And also, it's just practically, it's very hard to fund it. Yeshivas are hard to make, and also like yeshivas are often a local institute. Like Toronto Yeshiva is built for Toronto people, and like other people come in, but like you can't. It's very hard to have a yeshiva that doesn't accommodate the people who live there.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a culture. Toronto has its culture, so it's like Toronto Yeshiva is very much. I'd say I'm from LA, and LA is the same idea. You can tell that the LA Yeshiva was made for LA locals.
Only in like Crown Heights can you start making like you have such a big community and like people will
Nice.
travel all
All
over
types.
that you can start making weird yeshivas or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But like I don't think it would be such a negative if yeshivas had like a little bit more of like libe chafetz and like had set programs for it. But I also think it boils down to just resources, like who's building multiple curriculums and who's teaching multiple curriculums. You know what I mean? Like yeshiva is 90 people, right? And like you said, you know what, we're gonna introduce a Tanakh class. People who don't want to learn 6 hours of Gemara will keep it down to 4, and they can do 2 hours of Tanakh. Whatever it is, 2 hours of Tanakh. First thing, you have a disadvantage that they're not going to get. They're going to fall further behind in Gemara, right? Like you've kind of written it off that they're never going to succeed in
But
Gemara because they're
what?
always going to be. In a lot
Wait.
of ways,
Where's the line where you so-called succeeded in Gemara?
succeed is how they feel.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
I'd like they're not going to feel successful because they're always going to be behind another group of people who actually love it and devoted themselves to it. So like there is a bit of a write-off happening. Like they're going to always feel behind. Like it's not necessarily going to be crushing for them, but it's definitely not going to help them. Like you feel good because because you're the top of something, not necessarily number one or number two, but like people are asking you questions to help instead of you have if you are in, if you're in,
It's not good to compare.
the reality is we do compare. Like I think that we
But
do.
then it's infinite. That you're always someone better than you.
No, but you do it to your immediate surrounding. I actually find that people have a big problem when they go to yeshiva, especially large yeshivas, because like you can be the smartest person in your elementary school class, because you're like 20 people, and then you go to yeshiva and you're number like 30 because you're like there's 90, 100. I was in Kiryat Gat, we're like 300 people, whatever it was, and she did a 250, 230, and like chances are you're not the smartest. And if you're the smartest, it's in like one area, maybe for a short period of time. Like it's very hard to know. Like I have friends I think are geniuses, and I'm like top 10. Like we're 300 people, and 300 people, like a lot of them want to learn. A lot of them have been learning for a while. Like it's yeshiva end of the day. But like you'll have confidence at top 10. You're not going to have confidence at place 230. Like you're just not. Like you would be like amazing person or so stupid that you can't sense your surroundings if you're
Wait, so that's why having a whole nother yeshiva would solve that problem, because then the whole yeshiva is in the same boat.
Yes, I think so as well. I think there's a big problem of taking in people who are not ready to be in yeshiva. I think the mesiras nefesh is also okay. Like you could have someone who's at like the bottom 10% and be like, no, you can work hard and you can succeed, and he'll work hard and he'll succeed, and like that's an amazing thing for him. I think that has place as well. But like also don't lie to yourself. Like there's some people who are like they're not going to succeed and they're just going to end up hating every moment of it. Like you're not doing them a favor by putting them in this yeshiva.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you're saying that so when you have so-called higher classes and lower classes in Gemara in yeshiva, so lower class, even if you're the best in the lower class, you're still the lowest in the higher class, or if you're or it's enough to be the best in your individual class.
I think it's very dependent on the situation. I think often it is the best to be often enough to be the best in the lower class. But again, who says the next place that they're going to go to is going to have that kind of division? So that's what I'm trying to say is like in a way you're writing them off. Like that's going to force them to go to a place that's going to accommodate that level. You haven't like opened the door for them. And I'm not saying I think that there's a big advantage of lower and higher because you can teach people on their level. They're going to gain skills faster that way. Both of them will.
Yeah.
That's really good. But I'm just trying to say is like for the self-esteem, I don't think being in the lower class, even the top of the lower class, like even if that makes you feel amazing, I think it's going to limit your choices. Because your choices are going to be like, oh, do I strive into the higher class? Which might be good, might not be. And it might be, like, where can I go now? Oh, look, I can only go to certain yeshivas. What does that say?
Yeah, so it's a setup for failure.
No, I think that separating the classes is good. I'm just trying to say that it's an exchange. There's advantages we gain by like helping people find their passion, and there's advantages we gain by keeping a set curriculum and pushing people into places they're uncomfortable, as long as it doesn't like, as long as they're able to like balance themselves out and not hate every living moment of it, then it's actually an amazing thing, because it builds them up in a way to move anywhere and to really succeed. As long as they're able to find something that they find as passion.
We've mentioned we like kind of spoke about a little bit of Chabad values. So I want to know your opinion of what you think, kind of going back to even elementary, but especially elementary, because what do you find what's so unique about these Chabad values that it's so important to send your kid to Chabad school? Like, what is it? What are these Chabad values?
I think it's a very hard question, because I think that it's like a lot of layers of it and everyone answers differently. But like,
that's what I'm asking.
So if you said like Chabad values, you can say like, what does Chassidush say the values of a person should be? And then you're the closest to that. So like Chassidush says that, I don't know what, feeling for another Jew is the most important thing, right? So on your list of priorities is like feeling for another Jew. And then you would rate it like, does this school, whatever, help you feel love for another Jew? But like, that's one definition of Chabad values and measuring it. And I think that like, I don't think that's correct in the context here. I think what we mean to say is like a more cultural Chabad values. And the more cultural ones are like offshoots, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, of like these original true Svarim, what Chassidus and Hashem intended. And they're like, like being accepting of other people, I think is a Chabad value. And I think like Mivtzoyim, like if you're not in Chabad and you haven't been raised that way, Mivtzoyim is like really hard. And like you're gonna hate it. And like you're gonna do better in Yeshiva, maybe. That's a weird statement, but maybe if like you're just a little bit more accepting of other people. I don't know what. Being excited is a good one. Like I think a Chabad cultural value is that you should be like passionate and excited. I don't necessarily think it's as strong in other places, but like, because we forbring and like being able to be forbringing and like exciting and like into forbringing, I think it's like a very like it's hard to like cut it because it's very similar to other values. But like
what you're saying is all true, the all Chabad values. The question is, in reality, do Chabad schools actually implement these values?
Well, I think that's a very like specific on the school, and like it's a scale, right? I'm trying to say is like if you want to succeed in a yeshiva, like how well do you fit into that yeshiva? Well, that depends, the school you went into. If your school taught you like Chassidushim Tovim, excited and whatever, like you'll go into yeshiva and you'll be excited, you'll be part of Farbrengens. But if they told you no, this stuff doesn't have value as much, the most important thing is to learn, like you're not going to fit into yeshiva. Like you're not going to gain a lot from yeshiva. You're really in the wrong yeshiva. Like you can't fit into Chabad Yeshiva later. It's going to be very hard for you. Certain parts you might succeed in that are similar.
Right. Yeah, it's as far the few people that I know that were not in the Chabad school but went to Chabad Yeshiva, they're very good at, let's say, learning, because that's what usually non-Chabad schools are very into the learning part, especially Gemora. But then when it comes to Mivtzayim, they're not really into that, and then they're not into the Chabad values. Coming from a different angle, like, because I think the Rebbe himself into like, did the Rebbe care? How much did the Rebbe care that your child goes to a Chabad school?
I would like to like I don't know. I have a big problem like claiming to say the Rebbe said something. I don't feel like I know enough. Like I have to like, really, you know what? I have to find like the two extremes before I make a statement. Do you know what I mean?
Not like, quite. No.
You need to like be able to say, like, I believe in it. I think that you should drop everything you're doing and go to it. And like these scenarios, and not drop everything. Drop how much are you willing to drop and like give into this value is like one side, and like how much. Let me give an example. It's like hard to explain. If I said you're like a social person, there's like like, are you like super social, or you're social, but you like, oh, you're social in the sense that you say hi to everyone in shul.
Right,
So
I hear. Okay.
you're social, but you're not social in the sense that you, I don't know what, call a million people every day.
Yeah.
You don't do long conversations with people. You just do short conversations, and
Mhm.
therefore you are social. So like there's two
Oh,
extremes.
relative.
You're social in the sense that you do this, and you're not social in the sense that you do that. And I
Mhm.
find like was the Rebbe into chinuch? Yes. Okay. What point was the Rebbe into like Chabad schools? So the Rebbe was into it in the sense that he thought that it was better than secular schools, that he thought it was better than, but he wasn't into in this scenario. Like I think that
Yeah.
you have to be able to like know exactly where it starts and where it ends. And like I just don't feel like I could do that for the Rebbe's opinions on schools. I think that
Right.
anything that
That's
you
fair.
don't
Because
say
that's
that
I guess
is a
that's someone who's like knowledgeable in the Rebbe's Shlichus and the Rebbe's letters could answer that. So maybe without focusing of what's the Rebbe's opinion so much, but like what is the right thing? What like at the end of the day, the Rebbe pushed that we are shluchim ourselves. Like we are mashpiim ourselves. We're not just as opposed to other Chassidim, which they just makabel from the Rebbe and they just like are sheep put to the Rebbe. The Rebbe wants us to be leaders and to understand. And also, we need to understand it ourselves, not just to take it blindly what the Rebbe says. So when it comes to this subject, like it sounds like, and that's why I'm making a big deal, and I'm going to keep asking you this question because I hear both sides very strong. It's kind of a controversial topic. That I don't know where people get this idea that only Chabad schools is tar v'kadosh and Chas Hashem Torah not Chabad school. If anything, I've heard more stories that the Rebbe said, and were made different reasons. So that's why you can't. It's not. So people say, oh, it was only it was only hara prati, not hara klali. But the Rebbe gave a reasoning to it, and like there was I'm not sure if I should say where, that they kept asking the Rebbe that we want to make a Chabad school, and the Rebbe said, paraphrasing, that no, we should keep to the Litvish school, whatever it was. It was a religious school, just not Chabad. And there was more than one story like this, and one of them I know for sure. The way I heard it was that the Rebbe said because he doesn't want to cause machlekes, something like that,
yeah.
cause division.
I think that like again like it's very hard to know the Rebbe's opinion on it because like there's probably people who probably have enough information, but like you have to know like the Rebbe's definitely, it wasn't black and white, and it was also an individual level. What are those the characteristics that the Rebbe measured that he made his decision on, and like it's very hard to know. Even if you say like hara pratis and this is the general rule, like nowadays you can't ask the Rebbe that and get such a clear answer that you would have confidence, making a decision for your child, which is like huge, right? It's not like a thing you joke at. It's not
Yeah,
whatever. Like you
yeah,
need a certain level of confidence and certain level of,
yeah.
there's definitely a level of amuna, but you definitely want to do everything you can. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a very hard question. Like you would ask, this is a kind of question you'd ask the Rebbe. You'd write a letter and say, should he go to this school or that school? And um, just finding the balance and like in your situation, what are the factors that like apply? And like I just don't think that you can answer it on like a general scale.
I hear you. This is more, I get, more of a general question, but because I kind of mentioned it again, the Rebbe. I mean, I asked you what's the Rebbe's opinion, but and you said like, which is fair, that not like you're Bucky and everything the Rebbe says, but at the same time, isn't our job to know? Doesn't the Rebbe want us to know what his views are? Does that make sense?
I wouldn't even phrase it like the Rebbe's views as opposed to like Chassidush. I think the Rebbe's
Yeah.
like part of that.
Yeah.
Um, and you know what? I think that we're also imagining a situation that's a lot harder than it is. I think in reality you have like two choices, and like they're not so similar. Like I think you're imagining like you have two schools, Chabad school has a little bit of problems, and this school is like amazing. But like I think the situations are in some ways simpler, in some ways more complex. Like you're gonna have like a Chabad school that's like falling apart, and another school that's like super succeeding. You're gonna have another school like Yeah, it has a lot of issues as well, and like I don't know, maybe measuring the issues and like I don't know what, but and like who's your kid? Is your kid someone who's like totally gonna fail in that and like totally like I don't know. I think that like rarely do we come to such complicated decisions. I'll actually say like in general in life. It's actually like a controversial statement, but I don't think that like in life we come with complicated um, problems. I think we have like very simple solutions, very simple problems, in a way, very simple solutions. And like the hard part is like following through with them and not being like blindsided and it's like emotional to them. Not emotional is the wrong word, but like letting our emotions overwhelm us or like lie to us. But I think like most decisions in life, like if you think about it, you know, like you're very honest with yourself. You're like, no, this school is falling apart. My kid is not going to succeed here. Like I know who my kid is. This is not for me. And it just might be that the decision is a very hard decision to make. And it could be that there's no good decisions. But like overall, I think that like most time, 9 out of 10, the problem is the difficulty of the task and not the decision part of it.
Yeah,
And I think
agreed.
that's a very good example. Is Chabad schools, like I think that people have like a natural mental block and opposition of sending your kid to the school that fits him. And I don't think that's like an intellectual block. Like I think the intellectual part comes after. You know what I mean? Like end of the day is like if the Chabad school is falling apart and like it's really bad, like you've tried it out maybe. You sent your kid there. You know what? You sent your kid there and he's like totally failing. It's like it's not so much of a question. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you're gonna send you have a great school. You're gonna send your kid to the great school where he's like at least has teachers for the day, or he at least has I don't know what the necessary parts. Um, Maybe it's a little bit more complicated than making it seem, but like ask a Rav, ask a Mishpia. Like they're not such simple questions. I don't know. The questions are very often in life are more like our mental block and like if you sit honestly with yourself for a little bit, I think it's pretty clear usually what the right thing is. Whether we're able to do it or not is another question. But usually, what is the right thing? If we're honest with ourselves, it's not so hard to determine.
Just make a decision. It's as simple as that.
And if you ask me intellectual, like you showed me another person, right? And you're like, look, my kid went to Chabad school, but he doesn't actually sit in class the whole day. He runs up and down the halls because they can't discipline him. Do you think he should stay? You'd be like, yeah, of course, he should get out of that school. Like anything you should do, get out of that school. Like there probably isn't even like maybe find this kind. Have you tried? Have you tried this? A therapist? Have you tried discipline? Yeah, I tried that. Okay, fine. It's not a bad idea. Maybe put him into a school that has structure, and you'll succeed. He doesn't have any structure. I think it's like it's only problems with yourself, and like becomes I don't know a Chabad school. It's such an important thing, and the Rebbe Chassidush, and like you throw in all of this to mix yourself up because it's really like you're feeling you feel uncomfortable about sending your kid to a Chabad school. Um, and reality is like he's absolutely failing in that school. And reality is like it's not a hard decision between in education and no education very often.
I think you're making it sound like obviously you should go to the non-Chabad school, correct?
I'm saying if someone like a kid is like absolutely suffering and absolutely failing in school, yeah, you should try another.
Right. So
Don't keep him there
the,
because
the way you're
mesiras
making it
nefesh,
sound like the way you're making it sound like is the parents should obviously send it, but I think why they don't is unfortunately is because they're not even aware that the kid is suffering
well,
for
that's
different
that's a
reasons.
deeper issue,
Yeah,
right?
for different reasons. Yeah. You
I
can even,
mean, that's like a whole nother conversation of like being in tune with your kid and like and you know what? Anything I say is gonna feel like BS because I haven't done it. And it is like I could read 1,000 books and it wouldn't mean anything in a lot of ways. I could tell you what the science is, and I could like and it doesn't have meaning until like you've done it. So like I don't want to sit here like pretending like you know repeating like a bacher who comes in hears that one guy Mitzrayim talk about the news. Like I don't want to be that guy. He's like, look, I've heard a lot of parents say that the trick to being in tune with your kid is X, Y, and Z. When
I guess it goes back to what you said about the best way to teach Midos is to like kind of like not teaching it, but like living it type of thing.
yeah, I think that life is the best teacher for everything, and like the more realistic we are, um, teaching people to like not reject reality because that's like the most dangerous thing, right? Is like when someone bugs you and you go like, yeah, you're right. It's totally his fault. Like, no, sit a second. Take there's definitely something you could have done, right? Like, at least you'll admit to that. That wouldn't have set the other guy off. Just be honest with yourself. Teach honesty. Help people reflect. And then life teaches you, as long as you're honest with yourself and you're able to learn from the scenarios.
So it's actually an interesting point. So what things should we let life teach us, and what things should we not rely on life to teach us?
Well, we don't rely on life to teach us, especially when we're in yeshiva. We are guided through it. So it's a good example. Like, you get into a fight with someone, that can go two ways. You can learn how to like disassociate from reality and be like, no, that guy's 100% wrong. And sometimes you'll do that, and it's very helpful to have a mishpia there and say, actually, I'm not saying you're responsible for this fight, even though you did hit him with a chair. Maybe you could look into yourself and find some kind of place where you can take some form of responsibility. And it helps because, again, no one wants to take responsibility. So life is the one who taught you, but your mishpia guided you. Your mishpia didn't teach you that hitting people has a repercussion. I don't know. I'm making up a weird scenario here. I failed this test. Yeshiva's tests are too hard. And your mishpia comes by. Well, by the way, did you study? No. Oh, so you didn't. Your mishpia didn't teach you that not studying will make you fail a test. You learned that from life. Your mishpia just kind of guided you through it so that you were able to experience it yourself. That hard work and being nice and all of those good stuff actually come to positive, outcomes. And hopefully gave you the skills to do that later in life once you leave yeshiva, how to be honest with yourself. Not that you wouldn't need a mishpia outside of yeshiva, but, definitely you rely on a teacher and a mishpia less.
Mm-hmm. I guess maybe I could try to ask you things that I asked my brother, and I feel like you would have kind of the opposite opinion about it.
Sure. I thought that'd be interesting, actually, because I feel like I'm coming from such a strongly different perspective here.
Yeah, that's why it's interesting. That's why it's interesting that I'm hosting you. So, what comes to mind, the first thing we spoke about it for a while, was tests. You kind of mentioned, and because in general you make it sound like in yeshiva, the bachrim are not trying. They're and if the bachrim are not trying hard enough. But what it sounds like for my brother is that, and he's not the only one, a lot of people, that they try their best. It can be, especially in tests, but in all areas. It can be Davvening and tests and learning and anything, Chassidush, and they're failing. And not only that, but they're put down for it, and they're embarrassed, and they feel like a failure, and it gets worse and worse. So what do you have to say to that? What's those who try? Actually try.
I think there's a few things that have to be pulled apart there. One is more clear than a test has very clear what's a pass and a fail. And most of the time, people are not so stupid that they can't exceed. You hear the old stories, by the way, and they're like, this guy was so stupid. He sat 12 hours and he couldn't read the first line, and he could read. He just was so stupid. And you're like, wow, that guy's stupid. And I don't think that people are like that nowadays. He spends 14 years in yeshiva and he learned Aleph Beis, and you're like, no. People aren't so stupid. I think for the most part, even if you're not the smartest person, most of the tests are average intelligence. You are probably missing some skills that you don't have a short-term answer to, and they're a little bit of a longer answer to. Or you're not studying. Skills often mean studying skills. But for the most part, even if you're stupid, it just might mean that you have to put in a little bit more work, and that's just reality. I remember with Chumash tests in the beginning, it was very hard for me, and I would just go over it an extra time. I would one of my breaks, I would just go over Chumash questions again, and I was just getting 90s, 100, and before that I was getting 60s, and everyone else didn't have to do that, and I did have to do that. So I think that often the answer is, when it comes to very measurable stuff, that or you're doing it wrong. You might not know. You might have to be experimenting more, and that's why it's good. A mashpia, a teacher, might have more advice on how you should study. but again, very often you're doing it wrong. And it could be like, again, it could be like in the opposite extreme. Like you can't focus in class because you're not fidgeting. Maybe start fidgeting. Maybe start writing notes in class. Like that might help you, and you might see your marks go up. So like very measurable things. I think that like I think the failure that's happening in yeshiva is like there isn't that kind of interaction. It's on both sides. Like people should be coming up to the teacher, and the teacher should be coming up to them. Like, oh no, you're not doing good on your tests. What are you willing to work with me? And if you're willing to work with me, what have you tried, and what can we try to get that up?
Yeah, that sounds nice. I don't think they really do that. Most of them.
I'm making it very blunt.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's that obvious and that clear. But I do think some kind of interaction happens often. And very often the answer is the student's like, no, I'm stupid. I don't want to work with you. And the teacher's like, look, I have 30 people in my class. I'm not going to chase after you. You know, like I'm not your parents. My goal isn't your chinuch. It's like everyone's chinuch. Like I just don't have the time to run after you.
but he has time if the student's willing.
Yeah, I think that like chasing after someone is a lot more energy than having someone cooperate with you.
That's interesting. So what is a student supposed to do?
Walk up to his teacher and say it bluntly. Say, look, I'm not doing good on my tests. It's not making me enjoy it. Do you have any ideas? I want to work with you here. Do you have any ideas of what you can give me that would help me?
What if the student's in a bad place and he's not feeling that?
Oh, so now we have a problem. That the problem is this didn't happen day one, right? As soon as you started feeling like a failure, you should have come up. Like, and again, it's not just the teacher's fault. It's like also the parents has to be educating. Like, people should be pushing, and it's also a natural thing, right? Like no one wants to ask for help, especially when you're 14. You don't want to be like, oh, this teacher really does know more than me, and really like I'm not giving it my all. Like that's a very hard admission.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear that. Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think that if anyone came up to their teacher, you would find the teachers amazingly understanding. I'm saying like from experience, I've come up to like a teacher before. I'll say this story now. A little bit of shame in this story. I was coming late to Chassidush. I missed a few Chassiduses, or maybe I was coming late to Gemora. I don't remember what it was, but I was coming late, and like I knew that if I came any more late, I'd be in trouble. Like I wasn't said clearly, but I just knew it. And like I slept in that morning, and like I knew I was in trouble walking in. Like it was like I was going to get in trouble. So this was in Kiryat Gat. I was already in Zal, and I walked in, and the mishkiach came up to me, and I like cut him off. I'm like, he's like, David, like what's going on? And like before he like had a chance to explain himself, I said, stop, wait. I know I have a problem coming. I know there's a problem, and I'm working on it. I want to speak before I tell you anything. It's not going to mean something if I tell you now. I want to speak to my mishpia, and I'll get back to you after I spoke to my mishpia and see what the solution is. Because if I just tell you something now, it's not going to mean anything. It might not be a good idea. I might not be able to follow through. And like he respected that a lot. That went very far because because he felt he was working with me. He didn't feel like he had to punish me. He felt like I understood and I was working on it. And I think that like if there was more of a mentality of which there isn't naturally, it's also part of the education that people have to try this way of overcoming obstacles, and then they learn because they succeed. That when you accommodate the other person, it's like a teacher's like, no, I need you to pass the test. It's important for me to know that you're learning. Like that's how I measure my success as a teacher. I measure success by how many people pass the test. So you need to know as a student that what you have to do to make your teacher happy is pass your test. Not disturb in class and pass your test. That's it. That's your goal because that's what your teacher wants. So you're considering another person, you're thinking about it, and you have to then communicate. Like, look, I want to pass your test. I'm going to do whatever I can to do it. Just tell me what are the steps I have to do, and let's find something that I'm willing to do to pass. And you'll find that like people are when you get what people want and you like acknowledge it and you're willing to work with them. I think that people are very flexible. For the most part. Obviously, the situations in life that you can't compromise and the situations in life that are harder. But like when it comes to the teacher, when it comes to the boss, it's also like that. Like you want to know like what are the standards that I should be meeting at work? You can have the conversation. What do you need me to do? And then like you can make your boss feel good. And like again, I think that's the same thing in Yeshiva. Like if you're hating a class and you're failing at, like the best advice is to walk up to your teacher, or if you're scared of your teacher, your mishpia, and say, look, what's going on? Like, what am I missing to this class? Like, maybe the answer is like, it's Gemora. I should read it over an art scroll once, right? Before I test. I'll do good on tests. I'll like try and pay attention in class, and I'll art scroll once. I won't be disrespectful, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you'll find like that might be enough. Like you'll find like there's definitely some kind of balance. Maybe like, oh, I asked my questions all on Rashi. So like you've been learning the Gemara. Like you're not going to pass my test, by the way. Like that might be an answer the teacher will give you. And like that's, by the way, I think a very common answer. It's like, actually, you're studying the wrong material. You're focusing your energy totally wrong.
Right.
And even if you then go and fail the test, by the way, you're like, look, I studied Rashi like you told me to. I think your teacher would be very understanding of you. Like he tested on teshuva, told you to study Rashi and test. Like he'd be like, you know what? You're right. I did tell you to study on Rashi. It's okay. You'll find yourself like, so like, that's one. It's like if you're like really hating yeshiva and it's like a measurable way, you have a measurable goal. Like really, you should really reevaluate yourself. Like, what can I do to meet that goal? And you'll find there's a lot of options. It's very rare that the answer is that you're so stupid that the goal is unachievable. It's just very rare. It could be the answer. It could, like, it really could be. There probably are people that are in like the wrong yeshiva so far. Like they lack enough skills. That like in the it could be like in the near future you can attain it. Maybe it's a next year goal. Like I'm sure that if you pulled like a fresh Baal Tshuva off the street and threw him into Gemara, like you wouldn't be able to pass all the tests. And the answer would be like, look, you're in the wrong place. You need more. Like you're not going to get it this year. End of the day, you're not going to be up this level of learning this year. But like I think for the average bacher, he'll be able to pass the test. It might be a little more effort. It might be he needs help with a shliach, 30 minutes to go over the Gemara, whatever it is. Like there's surprisingly a lot you can do. Now, regarding Davvening, it's an unmeasurable goal. At what point are you a good Davener?
So they give you a mark, and that's what I was discussing with my brother. What kind of mark are they giving you? How are they giving you a mark?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I agree with that. I don't know what you could evaluate. So I'm saying a mark that you can't evaluate. Maybe ask them, by the way, walk up to them like, what's my mark on davening? The answer could be like, oh no, we don't care how you daven. We just need you not to walk around Zal and disturb other people. And your mark is about how like least you, whatever, how much you're looking inside your sitter, which is a joke, by the way. That should never be in a Mesifta program. They evaluate you how much you look on your sitter. And like in computers, by the way, there's this thing of like, they'll measure productivity, or they'll measure what you do on how much your mouse clicks.
Yeah.
And so they install mouse clickers that move your mouse around. So you can go to the bathroom, enjoy lunch, and your mouse will move the whole time, click around, and you'll be very productive.
You always find loopholes.
That's the thing. There's some kind of term for it, by the way. But like, if you're measuring on something that like, random, not random, but like if you're measuring for some kind of, if you're measuring for, how should I say? If you're measuring for something that's not it itself, but rather a result of it, you're always able to trick it. So like if you're measuring davening, not based on how well you daven, but based on how much you look in your sitter, which is like a byproduct of it, there is a hack for the system. You learn how to space out in your sitter. You find a smaller book to stick in your sitter, and you're a very good davener all of a sudden.
Right.
I'm just trying to say, or how much, like sometimes the answer is even worse. Sometimes it's like how much attention. Like how much did Hala notice you davening? And the answer is, how do I get attention on myself for davening? Like maybe it's saying the words loudly and just getting everyone's like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like maybe this conversation is enough. Like I'll go up to Hala, I'll say, hey, what should I do with my davening? And like that will be it. All of a sudden it'll be the best davener ever because it's all about attention on me. I've gotten more attention on me. Like he doesn't know, he just makes up numbers.
Right.
But regardless, whatever it is, like learning, I'm saying like there's like a benchmark. Like what they want from you is to pass those tests, to know the material and pass those tests. Like that's the benchmark. If you can do that, you're good. But davening, like I don't know how they grade davening. Ask. It's a very good question, by the way. If you don't know, just ask. They'll tell you. They're not going to be like, oh, we have the secret system. They might like, and honestly, if they give you a BS answer, that means they make up a BS answer. Mm-hmm. But it's like, no, we look around and we just know how you daven, whatever. You're like, okay, it's all about attention, and That's what I have to do. They want me to say the words loudly. That's essentially what that means. If they're doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think Yeshiva was stupid. Don't get me wrong. Like that's stupid on Hala. I could get why you'd want to do that, but it's kind of stupid. Whatever it is.
Right.
Um,
Also, like, how do you grade effort?
Grading effort is hard and easy actually. Sometimes grading effort means like effort to succeed. They don't mean effort. They mean effort to succeed. So if you're succeeding with low effort, then they're okay with you. And if
Yeah.
you're not succeeding, they expect you to put an extra effort, which is very noticeable. Like, do we see him studying during his breaks
Yeah.
because he's not doing good here? And
Mhm.
like that's what they're measuring you by.
So
They're not
that
measuring you.
seems to be not fair.
Life isn't fair. It doesn't have to be fair. Like if you need more work, you should be putting in more work if you want to succeed. You can't be mad at the system. Like, do you think the system should, like I'll turn the question back at you. Do you think we should make it easier because people struggle?
No,
Or
it
do you
should
think
be a system that works for them. That everyone should be working the same
how do
hard.
you have 30 people in your class, right? How do
Yeah.
you make it like end of the day is like, you know what I think the answer should be is we should be making it harder because the top people aren't working as hard as the other people. Maybe that's the answer. Do you know what I mean? Like there's some kind of compromise that you're gonna have to make for that top percent struggles a little bit, but like they can't be struggling 100% because they're struggling 100%. The bottom people are gonna fail. So
Right.
you need enough that the bottom people are struggling, maybe not 100%, but like 80%, 90%. The top are like struggling
And
a
you
little
you
bit.
think that's okay?
I think that's reality. I don't think you can make a better system than that. I don't think it's good, but I don't think you could do something better.
Or can you just make separate classes?
No, if you could, then that's amazing. But very often you can't.
Okay. When talking about
You need two teachers. You have two classes. You need two teachers, and you need two capable teachers. If you have one capable teacher, it's probably a lot better to have one class.
Yeah. I know a
But
teacher that like would act in a way of like three classes or at least two. Like while I think it was a she that while the teacher was telling the smarter kids mafarshim, you go back, they would like figure out the mefarish, the lower like those who weren't so smart. She was teaching them basics, and like
right,
that way she was going back and forth like that in the same class.
yeah, you could do that. It's all the number of students. You know what I mean? Like, how many people can you put in each class? It like really depends.
Yeah, that's a technical question. Yeah.
So I'm saying but reality is most of the time you're gonna have like 20 people and you're gonna have it like and they're gonna need like in Masifta especially like you need hands-on help the entire time. Like it's very hard to divide into two because like both people like can't learn on their own. They can chazer maybe on their own. Maybe the advanced group could, but like very often not.
Shivitana is hard. It's mamish, like they're not kids, but they're not adults.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're trying to become adults, like working on themselves, and like
Yeah.
it's very hard. Yeah. But I think when it comes to davening, you need to like something that you can't measure, and they're not evaluating you on for some weird reason. Um, like you need to like learn how to set realistic expectations, and that really has to do with your mishpia. That's like a very big part of where mishpia comes in. Is like, what should I be doing to improve my davening? And like you can measure success that way. Like create some milestones for yourself, even if you're not going to be like so clear on your milestones, but like, something general. I like davening is an interesting one because like, I have friends that like success in davening means they don't talk during davening and like they feel really good about their davening. And like some
Yeah.
people it's emotional and some people it's intellectual and some people it's part. Like I think for myself, some days like I don't really daven about Vaida now, but in my yeshiva days, like sometimes it was intellectual. Like I just wasn't feeling it. And if I just thought about, or in safe, like that was a good davening for me. And some days it was like, no, I wanted to feel something emotional. If I didn't feel that emotional part, I felt like I was lacking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
And
very good.
so,
Personal.
yeah, but like when it comes to like unmeasurable stuff, it's very hard to say when someone's failing and succeeding. It's like social, and often like you have to like not let yourself be bullied into a social setting and like stand up for yourself and say that what you do is okay, and then people will accept you for it.
Yeah. Well, some people have it easier to go to the teacher, go to the authority, and negotiate
Yes.
with them. It comes
Yes.
easier more than others. But yeah,
And
you
some
have to.
people abuse it, by the way. There's a reverse of it that's negative too. So it's very right. There's people who come up and like I don't really want to put in the effort, but tell me what to do, and like the teachers hate them because you're wasting my time, right?
Hmm.
You're just as like the person who refuses me. At least I know he doesn't want my time. Like I won't waste it on him. Like you're coming here, asking me to help, but I don't know if you're serious. Like even if I know you're not serious, I can't tell you no. Right? Imagine a student comes up and is like, "Look, I want help." He's gonna be like, "Look, let's be honest between me and you. You don't want to put any work in, right? Like the student's not going to take that. The parents are definitely not going to take that, right? It's like the teacher is stuck helping him, and the kid doesn't really care. So like, yeah, there's a negative to that too. But
Yeah, I guess that's why, and that's why they keep it the way that it is because of those negative exceptions
I
that
do
happen.
think that the emphasis should be like tilted more. Like again, I think that's a very valuable life skill. Is like learning what people really want, expect from you, especially people of authority. But even just in your friends, like being able to think like, what does my friend want, and like, can we make both of us happy? And like most of the time, the answer is yes. You know what I mean? Like, or especially in a marriage, by the way, it's like you know to like take a further step. Like, what's my partner like expectation in a marriage? Is it realistic? And if not, we need a conversation. But like, can I be there to like meet their needs, and how can I do it? It's very often not even such a big deal. Usually you don't have to give up something major to like accommodate another person.
Yeah, yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time, again, if not, that's a very good conversation. I think it's the same thing with your teacher. If your teacher's like, no, my expectation is that if you're not learning, I need you to like not take any breaks in the day. And then like thank
Yeah,
you for telling me that. Let's go to my parents. Let's go to Anhala. And like we need to have a meeting now because I need to get out of this yeshiva if you keep
yeah, but
talking.
I just wanted because you mentioned that, and it's really disturbing how the solution to failing in tests is to miss more of your breaks, which they need more of. Don't you agree?
It's an interesting question. I don't think the answer is to miss more breaks. And it's definitely not a long-term solution. I agree with you. Sometimes it's like very like okay, I test every 2 weeks, maybe one day every 2 weeks. I want you to do like an extra chazer and an art scroll. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely not to like no more breaks. And it could again most of the time. I'm getting echo now.
Because someone's calling me. Okay, continue. Should be okay now.
Okay. Yeah, it's better. Most of the time, again, the answer is not chazering in your breaks. It's really just adjusting the way you study or listening to class. And it could be also you're missing some skills, and like, yeah, there's going to be a short period of time where you have to push yourself. And I'll also say this: like, the breaks are more needed when you hate your class. If your class is bearable, you don't need as many breaks because you can space out in class a few minutes. You'll be fine as long as you're not hating your day and need to run
What? You
out of
don't
it.
think? Well, there's also physical breaks, like you need to move your
There's
body.
physical breaks. I agree with you. I remember in like yeshiva when we had like those 15-minute breaks and we would like do something like random physical activity.
Yeah,
Like we have 15 minutes, guys. Let's run 2 laps around the building. Let's go. Or like
yeah.
we have 15 minutes. Let's wrestle. Let's I don't know what pace up and down the hall. I don't know what. Yeah, I agree with you. There is a physical aspect to it, but I don't think that it's all physical either. It depends on the person. Again, there probably is people that need to walk out more, and like if they need to walk out more, they can get water in middle of class and like whatever. Maybe talk to the teacher about it. But like, and also physical could be doodling in a notebook. I'd like to say that. Like, you'd be surprised how many people are okay if they just doodled or wrote notes. Um,
But that means that, well, does that are they still listening? 'Cause a lot of people, I mean, there are people who are able to focus when they're doodling, and some people helps them, some people it's distracting. And most of the time, if the teacher is not aware, is not notified uh, why the student is doing that, then the teacher will just take it away.
that's true. So it's also how distracting it is for other people. Like you can't justify like I don't know what. uh, you know, doing jump squats in the middle of class. Like no one can teach a class if you're doing jump squats. Like that's the truth. So like, yeah, I don't know. It's a balance, and like it's really about like again one of the most. I'll say it like this. I think the skill I think that people are missing the most in yeshiva is learning how to work with authority. And really working with other people, understanding their wants, and like being able to compromise with them. Because I don't think the authority is the one who's lacking the ability to compromise here. I think it's the again, which makes sense. It's the 14-year-olds who struggle seeing another perspective.
So I made a video about it, and one of my viral ones, Mashpia Makabel, because that goes into that's a general category, and it includes a teacher and student. And I said, and it's based, I believe it's based on Chassidush, that it's the Mashpia's responsibility, in this case the teacher, to make the student successful. Even the fact that the student, the Makabel, is lacking, that in itself is Mashpia's responsibility to fill. Does that make sense?
I wouldn't agree with that. I think responsibility is too harsh of a word. I think that it's in his theoretical power. I said theoretical because most people don't actually have the capability to. But like very often, if you're very excited, you can excite another person, and like that might be true by the teacher in a theoretical world, right? Teacher got super excited about learning, he'd be able to drag in more students, get them more excited about it. Practically, that might not be true because he might not have the capability to get everyone excited. But it also works in reverse, I think. So I wouldn't say the word responsibility. If you had a really lame teacher who was just very like not into it, like he wasn't into the Gemora, there are ways that the student can excite him, that the Makabel can, awaken the Mishpia and get him very into learning. So when you say the word responsibility, it's a very interesting word. I think that it's in both people's interests to help each other out because like if you're a student, you're like, what excites my teacher? And you're like, no, because it could be like it could be the answers like if you ask questions regarding the learning, if you learned how to ask the right questions, like that would help your learning.
Yeah, it would.
So like
no one thinks like that. How can I help my teacher? I never heard of such a thing.
In work, there's a concept called up managing. And it's all about making your boss look the best that he could. Because if your boss looks really good and you're the one making him look good, he's going to, give you promotions. So you have to ask yourself, what does my boss want? So it depends. Like, let's say you work for the CEO. The CEO wants the investors to be happy. Everyone answers to someone. He wants to see the profit margins go up. So your question to yourself should be, how can I make the profit margins go up? Not how can I do my job? Very often your job.
How did that benefit the recipient?
Because then he gives you more.
It's almost like, but it's it sounds like a Shalei Lishma version of like, how like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it's Shalei Lishma. I think that we have a problem, like I would say society wise, but like it's not just Jewish. Like when we do stuff explicitly, we give it bad labels, and we do it implicitly, it's good. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like if you dress well, that's okay because you're trying to like dress well for yourself, and in reality is that you're impressing other people, right? But if you dress well to impress other people, that's a bad thing. But like reality is your action was the same. It just you didn't have knowledge of what you were doing. Maybe you didn't have knowledge of your own self, why you were dressing well. But like one was okay and the other was not okay. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is the thing with your teacher. Like, no, it's bad to ask my teacher questions so he's more engaged in learning, and then I learn better. That sounds so like lishma. Like, no, it's like that's lishma. Lishma is for that you should learn, and all you're doing is taking into consideration another person with your lishma. You're like helping someone else out as you're doing it as well. And like whether you do it implicitly, like would you say someone asking questions in class is bad? Would you say it's lishma? No, it's lishma. Whether he knows it real.
According to you, you're saying that the student should find ways that the teacher should teach him better, something like that?
I wouldn't say it's his responsibility. Responsibility is a very harsh word. I would say that a student should know that he's capable of affecting the whole classroom. And by him being into it, his teacher will be into it more. And now sometimes there isn't such a clear answer. Like your teacher will be in a bad mood. He got into a fight with his wife before. He showed up to yeshiva. He's in a bad mood. There's nothing you can do. There are days like that. And there's people going, like, it could be like your whole year. But I'm trying to say is like very often you have the opportunity to get someone to like be more part of it. And it could be, again, asking questions. It could be like, the teacher, like you'll have teachers who really hate their job. Like they come in because they can't control the classroom. And if the classroom is like a little bit more controlled, they'd be amazing teachers. So it could be the student should ask himself, like, look, am I putting this teacher through misery? Yeah, maybe I shouldn't put him through misery. Like, you know what? I'll admit my teacher is flawed. He's bad. He can't control a classroom. Maybe I shouldn't maybe I should work on myself, and then I'll learn better and I'll enjoy this class more. Now, very hard to do that, as the maturity that requires as a teenager is like very hard, and like you kind of need like your parents and you kind of need your mashpia to like encourage that level of maturity in you for you to deal with it properly.
Mm-hmm.
You need, like, people complain that nowadays, like, it used to be like, you went to your parents that you're misbehaving in class, your teacher went, and your parents sat with your teacher and punished you. And nowadays, like, you're misbehaving in class and your parents sit with you and punish your teacher.
The parents sit with you and punish the teacher. Is that what you said?
Yeah, like people will call up the school and start screaming, "How could my son fail in class?" It's like, come on, like you're showing him such a bad way of life. Instead of like, what can we do to make sure that he succeeds in class? What can he change and what can you change? And like the question goes both sides. Like, we're working together here. I actually have this very strong
I agree.
memory, very strong memory of my Anhala, Rabbi Oster. A lot of people don't like him, I'll say that. But very strong. I was in the airport with him once, and he walked up to the counter, and he was like, "Can I get an earlier flight?" And he was like, he preempted it. He's like, "I understand you're busy. I understand you're whatever. But is there anything that you can do for me to get me an earlier flight?" And like he was like, he understood the person at the desk didn't have necessarily the power, but like he was like, "I'm on the same team." If he walked up there and was like, "I need an earlier flight, give me an earlier flight," they would have definitely sent him away. But he was like, "I understand that like you might not be able to help me, but is there any possibility that like you could help me? Like we can work together on this. Like I understand you, but is there any way that you can like reach some kind of understanding with me?" And like the person was like, "Yeah, sure. Let's see what I can do to help you." And like they were like very willing to help, and I was like so shocked because like airport people are known not to be willing to help. But like, he came in there like with such menschlichkeit and such like I would say understanding of the other person. Or like what are your wants in this? Like, oh, you just want to be like acknowledged here. I can acknowledge you. Is there anything that you can do to help me, by the way? That person, you'll be surprised. The answer very often is yes. If you're willing to accommodate the other person.
It's very powerful. Thanks for sharing. It's also especially after you said that you said something about like negative. A lot of people have negative experiences with him, so it's good to hear something positive.
Yeah, I mean, he's very strong in his beliefs as well. So, Bachram definitely don't appreciate that. Maybe they do appreciate it in some ways.
So what's wrong with that? I mean, it's good to have strong beliefs.
Yeah, but you can't
impose it.
Yeah, he won't admit that he's wrong sometimes. Like I think that he believes it. Like maybe to other people he will, but not to the Bachram. Like he puts on a very strong front to the Bachram, and I don't think the Bachram appreciate that. I think that maybe in some way they do, because at least they like it's very predictable and people like predictable stuff. But in other ways, I'm sure like everyone like in yeshiva, he was like, "I hate this guy. He's horrible. I wasn't tucked in, and he gave me a $5 knas." And like it's like the most despicable thing. And like I argued with him. I'm like, "Look, I was just coming out of the bathroom, and it's not my fault." And then like maybe there's some truth to what they're saying. By the way, sometimes I'm not gonna like disregard them, but at least it's predictable. You know what I mean? Like there's an advantage to that. That like people know that if you're not tucked in, you will like. I think that it actually helps in a way. Like there's a plus and a minus to it. I'm not an expert in chinuch, but I know the Bachram really hated it, so that much I can attest to.
Wow. So that is that all for that topic? It was a long.
I don't know.
What was even the main? What was the main point of that topic? Of to take responsibility from both sides. The
Yeah,
mashpia and the kabel.
I think that Bachram don't realize how powerful they are once they take into consideration another person. Just like I really think that it's amazing what you can do. I think that applies everywhere. I don't think that applies just to yeshiva. Just taking into consideration another person, what their wants and their needs are, and then like you'll very often it's very easy to help them, and if not, it's very easy to compromise. I think that Bachram came the same way. Like even like a mishpia, like I want my mishpia to verbring more. Like, can you verbring more? And like again, the answer could be no. I have a wife and kids. I can't come more. And the answer could be like, look, if we made it like really fun for you, I don't know however you'd make it fun for the mishpia, like you'd probably be willing to come more, right? Because you'd be excited. Like if people were listening, if you had a full crowd coming, I'm sure that you would show up more often to Fabringans, right? Okay, so let's make sure we have a full crowd, and like we'll get our mishpia to come more to Fabringans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like yeah, I just think that like just such a valuable skill and like dealing with yeshiva, dealing with life. But again, people are 14 years old, 15, 16, 17. And like it's not a life skill they've ever practiced before. So I think that's very hard. And people kind of learn it with time, whether explicitly or implicitly, listening to other people. I think marriage does it to people. Like some people become married and they're like, you know what? I have to learn how to listen to other people and how to compromise. If not, I'm not going to stay married for very long. So, yeah.
Right. You don't think parents can teach that to their kids?
I do think parents can teach that to their kids. I definitely think parents could. I think teachers could, by the way, as well. Because I think that you can hold people responsible for it. Like if there's failure, like imagine your teacher came up to you like you failed this test. You're like whatever, and you're like, no, I'm not upset at you that you failed this test. I'm upset at you that you didn't come to me earlier. And like I think that would give like you would hold them accountable, not for let's say the failure, but which they also have to be held accountable for, but also for like no, maybe it's the second time you failed. Why didn't you come up to me after the first time? We could have worked the deal out together. We could have. So I think that like obviously you don't hold kids like kids aren't like it's not their fault for everything because they're kids. Even though as they're becoming adults, they can take responsibility for themselves. But I think, the parents could, the teachers could, the mishpiyim could, on Halocha could. It's just like it's another skill that you have to drive and teach people, or I wouldn't say teach, but show them how life teaches you that. Like, you know what? Try this out. Maybe try approaching him, not in an aggressive manner, because approaching teachers in an aggressive manner has never worked for you in the past. So maybe try something else.
Yeah. Yeah, teachers have it hard.
Exactly,
I want to
being underpaid.
Yeah.
Like imagine that, like you're
it's
just
very sad.
and then like the students come up to you like aggressively because 14-year-olds are aggressive. 14-year-old men, I should say, are aggressive.
I really want to talk to you about a totally different topic, still under the umbrella of Chabad and stuff, but veering off to like Chassidushkeit, basically not like kind of outside the school system, not basically not specific to the school system in general, and actually mainly maybe even more to like as a married life. Now that we're both married, where does Chassidushkeit these days? How do we implement it? How do you, in your own experience and in general?
I think I'll start with this, that it's the scales slide, and I don't think we're ready for that. I don't think that I was ready for it. I speak to a lot of friends. I don't think that they're ready for it. Like in yeshiva, it took you like, I don't know, however many years, but at some point you've come to an idea of what you should be. I should be learning, I should be going to mikvah, I should be Davvening, maybe bavaida, whatever it is that you've defined. And like when you're married, it often changes. I think that kollel actually really helps. I didn't do kollel, but I think that it does help, as you're like slowly adjusting, because you're staying a lot in yeshiva and that's like slowly changing. But like if you don't do kollel especially, but I guess even if you do kollel, you probably have a similar feeling.
Yeah.
And it scales what it means to be Chassidush and what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
what do you think could be done about that?
That's a hard question. I don't have an answer.
You don't think that he should teach you that in yeshiva? how to live in the real world.
No, I don't, because you have to you're still learning it on your you're still learning how to live in yeshiva. So it's not an art that's finished, and it does help. Like the more you're defined as a yeshiva person, the more you'll come out and define yourself outside of it. But it's hard. Just accepting that you're different and your capacity in Yiddishkeit is less is very hard for people. And also, when you're bacher, you can do extremes, and you can no longer do extremes.
Mm-hmm.
Davvening for me will never mean 6 hours on Shabbos. It just won't.
Yeah.
6 hours. I'll just miss the meal with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's changed.
Culture shock.
You could say that. And I was at a shiur. I have a weekly shiur I sometimes go to, and it was a big conversation in the mamer, because we were learning bossi legani, and we got to a third ice. It was really powerful, demanding of people, and everyone there was I have a job. I'm not dropping my job and going out on Shlichus. I'm not dropping my job and learning all day, and I'm not learning all day even outside of my job. I just don't want to do it. Even the not married people, just the working people that were that's just too much. And we had to pause the shiur for the Rav Mishpia person to be no, your goals in life have changed. You have to be able to set yourself what Yiddishkeit means to you with your job, and it's a whole no, you shouldn't be he'll say you shouldn't be dropping your job to go on Shlichus. That's not what they ever wanted from you. That's not what the mamer is saying, and it's very hard to I don't know, maybe accept yourself. I don't know exactly what it is that's so hard. I haven't found the answer myself, but just the idea that it isn't an extreme that you have to pursue, but you have to balance it. Maybe the goal one day is to get to an extreme. Maybe one day your goal is to be so spiritual that everything is shows off Shlichus and whatever. But you're definitely not doing that today, in the next week, the next year. And where are you setting your goals? What are you doing to improve? And it's a very hard conversation when you don't have such black and white answers. And you have so much, not only that, you have so much from the outside environment pushing you away from that.
What is pushing you away?
You know what I'm saying? You want to focus on work. Work is very important. You want to build up a career, and that's important. But I also want to build up my Yiddishkeit. Now, I want to build up my family, but I also want to build up my Yiddishkeit. That's important to me, and juggling those two things, and so there isn't an answer, because building your career and building your family are very important things. And you're feeling you're compromised. Yiddishkeit is no. The Rebbe wants you to give 100%. We're Dor HaShvi. This was the mamer, right? You're Dor HaShvi, and you didn't choose to be here. You didn't want to be here, but this is what you got to do, and you got to do it. And you're I'm quitting my job. You're no, you're not quitting your job. You're staying in your job, and you're going to pursue success in your job, because that's important. Financially, and it's important to make it clean. And I know you might argue, but I think it's good for your mental health. But where does Yiddishkeit fit in with that? So the answer is not you're going to drop your job and go to yeshiva, go on Shlichus. It's going to be some kind of you're learning and still working, and that's a very hard thing to accept. That the mamer says you have to Dor HaShvi, but the answer is that you have to go learn 15 minutes during work. That could be it. It's such a hard thing to accept.
Mm-hmm. So what was the Rebbe's Chidush then? Isn't that basic halacha that a balisik, a businessman, perkei echad shachas, perkei echad arvis?
Well, it's pushing yourself to what your max and your that. And again, some people could be perkei echad shachas is already past their max. I find the question interesting, because I don't think that they're in the same field. Halocha is telling you what you do for Talmud Torah, and the Rebbe is telling you what to do to change the world. I don't feel they're the same thing at all.
Sounds the same. It's almost the action is the same, but the intention is different.
No, I mean, it could be for some people it's perek echad shachas. It could be some people more. And like very often it's not just learning, but like there's some kind of like difference. Like for some people it could mean like I do my business honestly. There's
Yeah,
a lot of, and halacha might allow me to do certain things. Like there's a lot of gray area in halacha, but then you realize in like Chassidushkeit, like if I believe in Hashem is giving me money, I wouldn't do stuff that are iffy. They're like this gray area.
right.
You know, like I'll be, like if I believe Hashem is like really in charge, I'm not going to exaggerate my product and sales. You're allowed to exaggerate your product and sales. It's not against halacha too. But like honesty. Honesty is important. I'll tell people exactly what my thing is, and Hashem will help me. Like that's a very hard thing, by the way. But like,
Honesty. What is hard? Honesty?
yeah, honesty in business is very hard. But like I'm saying true honesty.
It's not the whole truth. It's half the truth. It's exaggerated truth.
In business, like you expect some kind of lying. Everyone lies a little bit. Like he says his product's better than it really is, and it will work better. And then like you're not scamming the other person because like he knows that you're lying, but like
It's so crazy.
but it's like part of the real world is that people are going to exaggerate and whatnot.
So
Like
being
if you're
honest.
like, I'm
What?
saying that could be your chiddush. You could be like, I read the mamer and I realized that no, I have to put like maybe this one lie that I'm telling is a little bit too much. Maybe we're gonna cut back on one or two lies for today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest with my boss. You know what? It could even be like in a crazy. It could be like, look, my boss is hiring me to work, and I'm not working all the hours I tell him. Maybe I should be working more. Maybe my thier is working more. You hear like the stories of Chachamim, right? That he wouldn't take breaks because he was hired. Like he wouldn't speak to the, I don't remember who it was, but he wouldn't speak to the other Chachamim during his work hours because it was stealing. It was like stealing
Wow.
from his boss.
Wow.
Like you know what I mean? And like that's not halacha. Halacha is you're probably allowed to talk. Your boss doesn't care. Your boss knows about it. He accepts a certain level of loss, whatever it is, if your friends come by, and you're allowed to talk. But like, thier b'tachtenim, you have to make your work as honest. Or you learn the mamer. You have to make your work as honest, and brachas come from Hashem. So you make your work as honest as possible. Your kli has to be as clean as possible, and you work harder at work. And like that's a crazy. I don't know, and it's very hard to do that because like that it's. I don't know. It feels easier just to go and learn, like drop my job and like go on Shlichus, even though that's impossible to do. It feels like the easier decision to make.
It's a more exciting thing. Made a video about it, about outreach. I said outreach specifically, not Shlichus, because the outreach could be there's different types of Shlichus that doesn't not necessarily base Chabad Shlichus, like for teenagers, for youth, all different types. So, and also someone told me something interesting that who was it? The Mashpia in Alter Rebbe, very old Mashpia. He asked the Rebbe if he's second class Shlichus because he's a teacher, and the Rebbe said, if you're fully devoted, 24/7. Well, it didn't say 20. Whatever. I obviously didn't say it in English, but something like if you're fully devoted, then you're like first class Shlichus. So I had this question: what does it mean fully devoted? Like Bichlal, how can even Shluchim themselves be fully devoted? Like,
Right.
Don't you need to take care of your own health and your family? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think it's a scale. I think that like it's not a switch. It's not like devoted and fully devoted. I think that like there's people who are more fully devoted and less fully devoted. I mean, you can say it as it is, and actually like I think that's actually a very like strong point. I think that's true about shluchim as well. I don't think that they're shluchim fully if they're not fully there. And I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's not a bad thing. It's something you have to work on. But I wouldn't like.
They're not a shliach because they're not fully devoted at that day or something.
But yeah, I'm trying to say is like, but they're definitely less, right? Even people have Chabad houses. If that's I don't know, whatever the balances that they have with it. But I'm trying like if you're less there, you are less shliach because you're less about your shlichus. And you're more about yourself, or you're more about something else. And it's the same thing about teachers. I actually think that shlichus, I don't know, my hergish, I would say like mesiras nefesh and shlichus as well, is not about doing certain actions, but it's about doing what needs to get done. I think that nowadays the real Shlichus and the real mesiras nefesh is becoming a teacher because of the lack of teachers. Like you were
No,
saying, like, tie it back in, but like your Chabad, like, why do you want to open a Chabad house? Are you really? Is it because there's a need of a Chabad house in the area? And like sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is like no. You want to open a Chabad house. Instead, ask what's needed right now, and it might be right now is needed to have a teacher somewhere, and you should be a teacher. Like if you really want to do Shlichus, you really believe in Shlichus, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And just, I guess it's just not as exciting, and the pay is not good, and it's looked down upon. It's like not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm not saying that they should create institutions on mesiras nefesh. It's like a separate, like that. They're failing. Like they should be creating institutions where people are happy and whatever. But like, if you ask yourself what's needed right now, like that should be your question in Shlichus. What's needed right now, and what am I able to provide? Like I guess the like what am I able to do about that? Like it might be needed as a teacher, and I can't teach, so that's a really bad idea. So like not that.
Yeah, you have to do what your skills are.
But like the real question is what's needed right now, and the answer could be like, oh, the schools need support. Maybe I should be supporting schools more. I can't teach, fine, but
Fundraise for the school.
That could be like real shlichus. Is like affecting change where it needs to be affected. Mm-hmm. I know that do you know Bumi Friedland?
No.
He's a teacher in Kiryat. He's a legendary person.
Uh-huh.
I don't have anything else to say. He's a character. People know him. Amazing chassid, amazing. I'm making him sound crazy. He is crazy, but I'm making him sound only crazy and not a massive chassid and not like.
Uh-huh.
But he's like what 50 books, 40 books, 30 books of his like Chidush Torah, like genius, really a genius. And when he moved out to Eretz Yisrael in the beginning, the Rebbe had him run a preschool because they didn't have a preschool teacher.
Wow.
So, like that's what Shlichus means. And like he hated it. He was like, this is like the Rebbe need, like this is what's necessary. I'm capable of it. And that's what I'm going to do. This is what's necessary. And then finally they brought teachers, and then he became like a Maggid chair in Yeshiva.
Wow.
Just like
that's interesting.
You have people like that. I actually know of the head shliach of Albany. He wanted to be a Rosh Yeshiva. He was genius also. And the Rebbe told him for his first shlichus, he should open a pizza store. So he was like ready to be a Rosh Yeshiva, sent somewhere to open a yeshiva. And it was like, no, I want you to open a pizza store. And there's a lot of Baal Tshuva from his pizza store. It was kosher pizza moved to town, and people got really excited. And that was shlichus, and that was mesiras nefesh. Not that shlichus and mesiras nefesh are the same thing, but I think they often are connected.
Where was this, by the way?
In Albany, New York. And there's a whole community there, right? He moved there and like,
wow,
yeah. I think that it was very hard for him. Like he doesn't like talking about it in certain ways. I think it was like very hard for him to do it. I shouldn't be reading into it. It's not nice, But,
yeah, that's like no one would do that unless the Rebbe told them. I mean, or unless people just had different would actually like look what's lacking in the world and fill that lack.
But you don't have to look in the world. You could just look around you.
Yeah. Around you.
You look in your community and say, what's lacking in my community that I can step in and help? And you'll find a lot. You're not going to find one thing. And I think that rarely you'll find the answers to open up another shul. I think you'll find that there's a lot of shuls that need help. And the answer will be like, you know what, we need to bring people into shul. How do we bring people into shul? Or I don't know what. I'm saying there's a lot of stuff. It could be like people don't want your help, and fine, maybe then you can consider whatever it is. But I think most of the time you're going to find that the answer is to not opening another shul. Again, it could be the answer occasionally. It could be like there's a community that there's no rav anywhere nearby. There's no rabbi. Move in a rabbi and get Jews to Yiddishkeit. I think that's amazing. And it could be that like there's a school that needs a teacher, and the school could be in I don't know where, somewhere random in Timbuktu. Timbuktu needs a teacher for the cheder. Like that's shlichus.
Yeah.
That's extreme. You know what I mean? And yeah, it could be something random. It could be like building a mikvah.
So how do we know now? Yeah.
Like if you have like I keep on like referencing people, but I don't know how good it is. But like there's a bacher that I know that he didn't do great in yeshiva, but outside of yeshiva, he was like really good at construction and like really succeeded. And he helps a lot of shluchim with different stuff, but building sukkahs, events. He like helps coordinate events. And like he's amazing. He's like incredible. I don't have like words to like he's just super successful, like super amazing at what he does, and like he has amazing shluchas. Like he fixed mikvahs. That's insane. That you can
Yeah.
have someone coming down and fix like whatever it is, or like you have a business guy and like he does the shul for free, whatever it is, a caterer and he gives food. Like that's an amazing shlichus. That's not like like whatever. Like that's how he gets Jews to come to shul. He might even be more successful than people who open their own chabados. He like giving food to the shul might be more successful, getting more Jews coming in. And he found a
Yeah.
need that the shul had, and he was able to like incorporate that in and like help the shul. Like
Yeah.
he asked himself, what can I do to fix the problem? And he found a solution. Like that's, I don't know. That feels to me like what the heart of Shlichus is making a change and not doing it in a specific way. And I think that in the Rebbe's, in whatever, I can't say what year exactly, but there wasn't enough shluchim in places. You had a major city, and the Jews there had no opportunity to connect to Yiddishkeit. I think that was very, very important that people were sent there, and that was like real, like the top of shlichus for most people. There was just such a need for it, like there was no Judaism in California, and you
Hmm.
step in like now there's Judaism. Like even though I don't do the best job, that has an impact. But nowadays, I think there's a lot of shluchim. Like people should be asking themselves, like what would get the most Jews to come to shul? And like I don't think that the answer is very often creating another shul.
Hmm.
I think very often it'll be supporting what's there because already is so much there, and there isn't, I don't think, enough support for it necessarily.
Hmm.
And
Interesting, because we have to it's common sense, and I guess that's why the Rebbe didn't say it. The Rebbe didn't say, okay, at a certain point, and there's all the big cities that have Chabad houses. Okay, now we need to focus on need to refocus back on the inside of our communities.
again, it could be that you see an opportunity in a community and you move there on shlichus, and that's amazing. Right? You found an opportunity, you found Jews that need you. Like that's amazing. Like I'm not like putting down shluchim at all. I'm just saying that every person should be asking himself, how could he make the biggest impact? And that should be his question. It shouldn't be, how do I open a Chabad house?
Right.
Or like people who do educational programs, like I think some of them are, have much stronger impact than any one shliach could offer on his own, and they're multiplied by the number of shluchim out there. People who
Which
write,
educational programs?
I'm saying like people write like JLI courses or
Okay,
whatever it
that's what I
is,
thought. Yeah.
and like it's just so impactful. Or there's a lot of like different chavrusa programs that shluchim could funnel people to, and I don't know what. The list is endless. Like that's the truth. Like as I experience more of the world, I've learned how niche jobs can get. From like I have friends who make like custom furniture, and I have friends that do insurance, and I have friends that like make fire alarm systems. Like they're very, very niche, and I think that shluchas is the same way. Like my shluchas is I participate in the school. Some people their shluchas is they pay full tuition for all their kids. Like that's very impressive. Anyone who pulls that off pays full tuition for all their kids. Like I don't know, like you're supporting schools in ways that like most of the teachers there are not supporting schools. Like you're paying multiple salaries. One teacher, maybe he's like mesiras nefesh on one part, you're mesiras nefesh on everyone's salary,
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it could even like I don't know. I'm just trying to say is like it's very, very niche what everyone can do, and like we always give examples of very general things like building a mikvah, and like reality is it's like very, very small, very, very niche. Sorry. Same way with jobs. Like when we're a kid, we're like there's 5 jobs: there's policeman, fireman, doctor, like.
Yeah.
And then you go into a hospital and you're like, no, there's actually like maybe like 40 roles over here, from like janitor to nurse to assistant nurse to PA to doctor to a head nurse, to specialist doctors, to specialist nurses, to I don't know what. And you're like, no, there's
So
actually
you're
four
saying the same thing over here, that there's different types of like
shlichus.
niches.
Yeah, shlichus. You have a shliach. As a kid, you're like, there's a shliach, there's a rav, and there's a teacher. 3 shlichus roles. And you're like, no, there's someone who helps organize the school's curriculum. Fine. There's a volunteer parent, someone who comes in. There's the members of the board of the school. And that's just with the school. I'm just saying, like, you could focus into one thing. There's the people who run the after school programs. Some of them are paid, some of them are not paid, some of them are paid too little, whatever it is. There's the people who, I don't know, and you'll find in a school, there's actually like 40 different roles of contributing, and they're not just teacher.
Mm-hmm.
There's the person who supports the school. There's the person who supports the school a little, but like that's what he's best at, right? It could be like, I don't know, I'm not that capable. I can't run a whole school, but I can support a school a little bit. Like that's it. You're doing like that's maybe your best thing that you can do.
Mm-hmm. We're all pieces to a puzzle. We all have our part.
And I'm saying your goal is to be the most useful you can be, and that should be your question. And
how can
very
it be more
often,
useful?
yeah, how do I be more useful to the community? How do I be most useful to like Yiddishkeit?
Mm-hmm. So tying back into how it started, how to keep the transition from bacharhood to getting married and saying Chassidush, all of that. So you're saying that the way to stay Chassidush and slash Shlichus is to be useful. In short,
I would say like the answer is like, yeah, I think that like, especially again, if you're going to yeshiva, you're like, fine, I left yeshiva, but now I'm going to be a maggid here. I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be whatever. It's very easy to feel very connected.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like in business or whatever, like how do you feel connected?
Yeah.
And the answer is, yeah, you have to be asking yourself. And again, like there's shlichus part of it, and there's also like personal part of it. Like I need to go to minyan. What can I do? Like the answer might be like, I'm going to push myself and go to minyan. And it could be, I'm going to, mincha. Mincha is very hard. It's the middle of the workday. I'm going to make sure I go to mincha.
Right.
And like, I wouldn't use the word shlichus for that. It's more like personal. But yeah, also personal growth. You have to ask yourself, like, within my shlichus, within what I can do best and affect the world the best at, how do I make myself from there, the most from and the most connected to Yiddishkeit as possible? Shlichus doesn't always equal connected, by the way, as shluchim in far-off countries will tell you.
Right. Let's move on to another topic. We're nearing like 2 hours and a half, and
I don't know much longer I can go for. I'm like tiring out here.
Yeah, I mean we can go for like, or we can end here. Or we can like I was going to go for like maybe another 20 minutes with another topic.
Sure, let's try another topic.
So
we'll tie it all in,
or tie it all in. Another kind of juicy topic is about how. Sorry, so I'm going to use labels. How do bachuvas infiltrate properly in our communities? Like, because there's all different types, and there are types who try to blend in and types who don't, and there's pros and cons. I've discussed in one of my videos. I say that they have to keep their personality, and as also also we could talk about that there's a bachuva within you and all of that. So, what do you have to say about this?
I actually had a bit of an epiphany recently that there's a difference between. This is like a general statement, so I'm not really answering your question, but I'll get into it. Mm-hmm. So the epiphany is that there's a difference between people who are bal tshuva through yeshiva and who are bal tshuva through a community. Mm-hmm. You can feel them very different. Like people who are bal tshuva through a yeshiva very often have very extreme bal tshuva like reactions. Like they'll be very obsessed with certain parts of halacha, very often be more obsessed with halacha and like certain things. And like they very much struggle to find that life balance. And like I know, and they make do with it. So like they adjust to it.
Uh-huh.
And I find that bal tshuva to a community, like they become very much like the community. And like that's what the Yiddishkeit becomes, like a regular person, like the average Chabadnik. They see the
Yeah.
average Chabad, and then so they learn. They learn that like you learn sometimes because the average person doesn't spend the whole day learning. It's not like he talks about learning the whole day, but he
Right.
learns sometimes. Like they
Right.
learn. That's what they learn. Yiddishkeit is, and like I don't
Hmm.
know if one's better than the other. I'll say that. I definitely feel that people who integrate through the community integrate into the community better than people who are naturally drawn to yeshiva. They kind of stay a bacher forever.
Hmm.
Um,
Hold on. When you say becoming religious about Tshuva through the community, you mean that they never went into yeshiva? I guess
or
they're
they
like,
went to yeshiva after they already were from.
oh no, because even those who go to yeshiva, it's not their beginning journey. You
No,
know,
but usually they're not like settled yet.
so
Some
you're
people will
saying that,
settle in
so
the
there's those that
community.
are settled before they come to yeshiva, and those that are settled in yeshiva.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's like
Interesting.
what their norm will be.
So what would you
I
say?
think that nobody can ever get rid of their individuality. Um, I just think that that's true. I don't think there's anything to say. I don't even think it's worth the conversation away because it's just impossible.
Yeah.
I heard a story. I like the story. I haven't
Mhm.
heard a source for it though, so take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Um, that the Alter Chassidim of like the Mitzvah Rebbe, I think it was, were sitting around for bringing, um, and they were all saying what they would be without Chassidus.
Okay.
So you had like Isaac Humler was there, and he said, if it wasn't for Chassidus, I would put out Chidushim like on Gemora, like the Rashba. Like that would be my thing, because like I'm such a learner that it wouldn't make a difference. If I didn't have Chassidus, I'd still be such a learner. I'd be putting out Chidushim like the Rashba. Hill Paracher was there. And he said, if we didn't have Chassidus, I would go into the forest and daven. I'm a very spiritual person, and that's what I would do. I didn't have Chassidus. And then Shmuel Monkus was there. He said, if I didn't have Chassidus, I would go into business. I'd make a lot of money, and I would buy mashka and give it to people to make them happy. Because that's how I am. I'm a person who likes making people happy. So, like, this is the story again. Grain of salt. I haven't seen it written anywhere, but the point of the story is that Chassidus never changed who they were as people. It just brought it over into a more Chassidish way. It just brought it over into a different way. So Hill Parcher, like he still was spiritual. Now instead he taught spirituality to the people, right? He was like a Rebbe almost. He was teaching
Mm.
people. I was able to and then Shmuel Monkus, he still made people happy, but now he made people happy through a way of Chassidus and.
That's a
Um,
very good story. I like that. So the same
but
thing could have, yeah, continue. Sorry.
go ahead.
So you're saying the same thing could apply to Balchuvas.
Yes, I think that like if a person's very organized, he's going to become someone who's very organized in Yiddishkeit. Now, I don't think that's necessarily it's connected to like always being a bacher. I think that that's a little bit encouraged and a little bit artificial. But I do think that their personality will always stay, and then maybe some people who are like that. But the same way some people are like that in the in the firm world, there's some people who will always be a bacher, and like it's just their style of person, and good for them. And I think some Baal Tshuva is like that too, but I do think it's a little bit artificial. Just how every Baal Tshuva is like that. That feels weird to me. It feels like
Hmm.
it's encouraged in a way.
Hmm.
And yeah, and like individuality is encouraged, but it should like make sure that it's falling more into I don't know what tearaway or whatever it is.
It
Whatever you want to
stays.
say. Yeah, I
Apparently,
mean,
I heard something like you first need to, especially with Balchuvas, like let's say, for example, they were into music, they were a singer, but they were singing bad things. So they need to like stop what they're doing. Need to like go through like I guess the main thing is just stop that music, and then once they become more religious, they go back to it, and now they're going to use it for a holier thing. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
that's true about anyone, right? Even if you're not about tshuva, and if you're into music, you should be doing music and bring it into it's shlichus. It's what you're good
Yeah.
at, it's what's needed, and that's the same thing. It's true about tshuvas. The only thing that I find weird is like why is it that you can like speak to someone who's a Baal Tshuva for most people, like this guy is a Baal Tshuva? Like it's not individuality that's doing that, right?
You're saying it's and that's not a good thing. The fact that we're able to easily pick up that they're Baal Teshuvas is not a good thing.
I don't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It feels like I don't know why it's there. Like I'll say it like that. In theory, there should be no reason, right? Like after 5 years, 8 years, you integrate.
Yeah.
But it's weird that people don't fully integrate after a long period of time. Again,
When you
it's not
say
individuality.
there's two ways of integrating though. There's integrating normally, like I guess the way you said it was like through the community. So that way he becomes like, because there's kind of, it's important to make the differentiation, because the good type of blending in is where they still keep their individuality, but they're not like, they don't have that Baal Tshuva that you tell that they're a Baal Tshuva, that they're not like super crazy, if that makes sense.
It's not, I don't know what it is. I can't like put it into words, I should say. Right? Like Baal Tshuva is a certain kind of like, or it's an extremeness that they have, or it's like a mix of extremeness, and sometimes, by the way, it's ignorance too. It's like a blend of the two, because like they don't have regular anhagas. They haven't like picked it up. Like you know the lachats of basar v'chalav not because you learned them in yeshiva, but because you saw it at home. And like a Baal Tshuva doesn't have that. He doesn't have like that to fall back on. Maybe he has like this level of intenseness. Because like I don't know, he doesn't have like he's like I learned it in Svarim. This is what the Svarim say, and like you don't do basar v'chalav on the Svarim. You don't.
Right.
And like maybe the Svarim have changed one or two things or made you question a few things, but like end of the day is you do basar v'chalav because you like that's what you know it. Like you grew up with it.
Right. So like, it's very different.
So maybe that's why it is. Like maybe that's not fixable, or maybe like it's weird to me that after a certain number of years, they're more individualistic than the average person is. Like something I wouldn't argue it's individualism at a certain point. I argue it's something else. Like everyone is individual for the most part.
Yeah, but then again, they have this. All Baal Teshuvas have this. Most Baal Teshuvas have this one thing in common that you can tell they're a Baal Teshuva. That thing is not individual. That thing is.
Yeah, so I'm arguing. Yeah, I'm arguing what like I'm thinking for me like what is that? Like again, I think that everyone should be using their natural talents, predisposition, whatever you want to call it, like a mix of that in a very Hashem in their life. Like that's the only way people are successful. I don't believe that you can define a perfect person, and like everyone's role in society is different, and v'chulu. But Baal Teshuvas, I think that we often encourage individualism when really it's not individualism, and really it's something else, which I can't quite put my foot on. What it is exactly. Maybe I'll think about it more. But like, there's something there. Like, I don't know if it should be like encouraged. I don't think it's a bad thing per se, but it's like it feels like like if you do teshuva, right? In a certain way, you should grow out of certain things. You know what I mean? Like I'll meet Baal Teshuvas and like in some ways they're proud of their past. I'm like, no, you're Baal Teshuva means you're not proud of your past. And like you can still be you. Your past doesn't like detract that. Like you still have all those amazing skills, but like at the end of the day, it's like you did something bad, right? You lived an unhealthy lifestyle. Like I don't want you to say it. I want you to like emotionally agree that it was bad. Like maybe that's what I don't know. I'm making up something. Probably isn't one answer. It could be like a lot of people have different like reasons and they seem similar. But like again, I think the individuality should be encouraged to the fullest. But I don't know when you say that, I don't necessarily think that everything that we encourage as individuality is really individuality.
Right. I don't think they really encourage that. I guess in the few places that I've been.
I know in Morristown they did.
What?
In Morristown and in Tiferes in Morristown, they did. It was actually crazy to me. Like I'll speak out against it. Like they took like Baal Teshuvas are like more powerful in a way that like Baal Teshuvas are better. And it was like said sometimes very explicitly, and it got on my nerves a little bit because like the powerful part is that like you still are who you are. Like if you had a girlfriend in the past, let's say, right? You're a Baal Tshuva, you came in as normal. You're like, that doesn't define me as a person. No, I'm someone who is from, and maybe I did drugs in the past. I didn't keep Torah ways, but I am someone Torah. That's your power, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that you're someone who's different than everyone else, than other people who are keeping Torah.
Uh-huh.
It's that you are someone who keeps Torah, even though you have a different past. And like, I think when you emphasize that different past, it's not like a mila on the Baal Tshuva. It should be a shame on him. You know what I mean? Like, you did so many bad things. Like I don't want to talk about it. I think you're an amazing person. I think like because you did bad things and like you are who you are today, that says a lot. And like that like brings, elevates all those things to Kedusha. But I wouldn't like emphasize that you're a person who did all those things. I think that's a negative. And I think that like sometimes we emphasize that and we
I hear
glorify.
you.
Like, oh my gosh, you were such a schwanz in your days, like I could have been an investment banker. Be like, no, investment banker is the opposite of Hashem. Like, I'm not impressed by investment bankers. I'm impressed by, this is actually totally a shot at someone, so I should. But like, I'm not impressed by that. I'm impressed by, that you're such a from yid, because that's what my values are.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that you came from such a lowly place and you're able to like still reach this level is like so inspirational for me. It means that I should be pushing myself and I could reach even further. And it means for you that you were able to like conquer so much klippa. But like when you start focusing on your klippa, that's not your mila. Your mila is your frumkeit. Your mila still isn't your negative part.
Mm-hmm.
And
isn't it that you're just saying that this guy is religious despite his past, which is something great, no?
But I find that we glorify the past a little bit too much. We like try and like, we try and like build them up. Like, your past was so bad, my past was so bad, and therefore what I am today is okay or whatever. And like, he's like, no, like emphasize who you are today, and like your past means less in a way. And like that's why you're so powerful, because your past means less, not because your past means so much. And again, it doesn't mean that the skills you gain mean less or like anything like that. And like, it's still your history. The same way like you're a Veres, right? Like, you don't go bragging around like, you guys should know I'm so good because I used to sleep in every day. I'm not saying that's your Vera,
Right.
but it's a common one, right? Like,
I hear
I'm
you.
so
Yeah.
impressive. It's like the kid who brags in school, like, I didn't even study. It's like, no, you're missing like you're not so impressive because you didn't even study or whatever it is.
Right.
Like, it's you're emphasizing the wrong points. And I do think that like it's exciting, especially from people. They're like, oh my gosh, the guy sitting next to me, he used to be a drug dealer. Can you believe it? He used to do so many drugs, guys. And like, no. He's an erlachid, like he was worked, and like, yeah, he's changed a lot, and like that's a good story. But like the emphasis isn't that he was a drug dealer. The emphasis is that he's such a good person. And like there's moments where you want to express it, but like they should be expressed with pain and regret, the same way you express something bad about yourself. You don't be like, oh, I slept in all yeshiva, guys. Can you believe it? I slept in all yeshiva, and we're all like glorify you. Wow, you're so amazing. You slept in all yeshiva. Like,
right.
No, you're so amazing because you're such an amazing person. And like,
right.
And then, like, maybe in a one-on-one conversation, like, I'm not bragging to you, but I'm telling you, you should know you can overcome what challenges you had. I had a challenge where I slept in yeshiva and I overcame it. Like, it's a one-on-one conversation. I have so much shame. I did bad things. I slept in yeshiva, or whatever. No one has so much shame for sleeping in yeshiva, even though we probably should. But whatever it is, like, you don't have like a gaiva from it. It's not your gaiva. It's your shame.
Mm-hmm.
Your gaiva is all the good that you're doing. And yeah. And like, I don't know, it's hard because that's the exciting part. We like exciting.
Right.
And
yeah, I never heard it the way you're saying it. It makes sense, and I agree.
And I guess I don't think it has anything to do with individuality. Like your individuality is not that you're a drug dealer. That's not who you are. Or the fact that you were a drug dealer isn't like who you are today. Your individuality is that like the stuff that you did and habits and like a person that made you. Mm-hmm. And like that's who you are. And like if you were a drug dealer, you may be someone who likes excitement, and that's who you are. You're a person who likes excitement. That's your individuality. If you're like you like excitement, maybe you should be I don't know what. Maybe you're a great teacher, by the way. You like excitement. This is it. You're able to engage kids in ways that other people don't have because that's who you are. But it's not because you were a drug dealer. It's because of who you are or your past. And it might be your past is you're like you. Who are you? I'm somebody who understands people's problems. And it could be the reason you understand people's problems because you were a drug dealer.
Yeah. Drug dealer is more of a symptom. It's more of an outcome of your personality.
You're not proud of being a drug dealer.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any excitement or proud. You should have shame. I hurt a lot of people in my past. I have shame. I did teshuva, and now I said it's a bad thing. I'm no longer doing it. I have shame. I don't know.
All right.
I
hear
think
you must have had a lot of. It sounds like you had a lot of people doing the opposite of that in Morristown. Or in general.
I think that I was like I went to Tmei, right? And I think I saw some of it over there. And then I saw it in Morristown again. But I thought everyone is doing it. Like it's like it's not so black and white. Like this is our attitude, our policy. I think that like it's just so hard because it's so exciting to hear about everyone's like past, and especially as from birth. It's just so exciting.
Exactly.
You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what it's like to be a drug dealer. Tell me all about being a drug dealer. And like that person leaves, like I'm the coolest person. I'm accepted into this
right.
That was
I hear you. It's making more and more sense that more you're saying it. And like, it's not. Don't be proud of these bad things.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't change the fact that you're so amazing. That you're like who you are today is so amazing, and like where you've come from and your growth. I'd say like your growth is amazing, not from where you came from, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And growth is an amazing thing. Like I think that our goal in life is to grow from wherever we started, just to grow and constantly change. Yeah, so that's my opinion. And again, it's nothing to the individuality. I think that like Baal Tshuva is like they're the same as everyone else in the sense that they're individual, and maybe they've had more time to explore their individual side. And often people who become from it's because they were soul searching more, and so they probably have more chance to work on their individuality than most from birth. But it's still like I don't think that that's the whole story of individuality. I think it's like a very small piece of the picture.
Yeah, makes sense.
And maybe it's like that. Like this is a bad shot. I feel like I'm shooting at people, but like maybe it's because there's still some of it that's part of you, and you have to work on removing that. And like that's your challenge. Right. But it's not such a shot at people because like it's the same thing from birth. By the way, like there's a certain reason that you don't feel shame and whatever for like sleeping in yeshiva or is not learning or I don't know what. I'm making it sound like that's our only Averis, by the way. Like our only Averis.
Yeah. Being very clean over here.
Yeah, there's a lot. Everyone has their own Averis, and like some of them are like very extreme, some of them are not as extreme. Like rude to teachers, right? I was like an absolute schwanz to my teachers. That's my Avera, whatever it was. I think that's true for a lot of people. I was a bully in school. Like that could be like everyone has their good Averas, and like should be shame. It should be shame. End of the day, it's like you shouldn't be like the fact that you have a little bit of pride in it. It's not. It shows something on your teshuva. Right. You still have more work to do on your teshuva there. Like it's not your personality. Your personality is not a bully.
Yeah.
Even though that bullying did affect you in some way, and it changed your personality, not necessarily in a bad way. By the way, it could be like I have so much confidence. I'm a bully. Like
there's something. Very few things are not. Or you're not able to elevate or transform it to good, even bad traits. But like we said about like drug dealing, it's not that itself is a problem, but the skill of it that could be transformed to good.
Yeah,
but not to focus. Not to focus on the bad.
I'd say that anything that you are successful at probably has al-umasa and kedusha. So like if you're a good bully, you're probably also good at standing up for people who are bullied. And it just happens to be. And like you shouldn't have pride in the fact that you're a bully, but like no, you've actually developed a skill that's now part of you that you're very assertive in conversations. And being very assertive in conversations, it lets you bully people and it also lets you stand up for people. And drug dealing, you're probably very good at coordinating. You're probably very good at making people feel comfortable. You're probably very good at assessing danger. Like there's a lot of like probably amazing skills that you've picked up. And those are all part of you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
drug dealing does and if you've given up drug dealing, it's no longer part of you. And then,
Right.
or even being chutzpahdik, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is definitely a good trait to use.
Yeah, chutzpah is one of the strongest things we can do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as long as you're not doing it to your teacher, so you can't teach class, it's very
Yeah.
powerful. I think salespeople, the most successful salespeople, come in with the chutzpah. They come in like, you're wrong. This is what you need in life. This is what you need. Or a shliach. It's like a certain level of chutzpah to walk up to someone and say, this is what you need to do to
Right.
find peace in your life. That's such a level of chutzpah. Like if you were to describe it elsewhere, no one would believe it. You walk up to someone who's happy with their life, and you're like, no, you're living your life wrong. I don't care that you're happy. I don't care that you've defined success and you've reached it. I'm telling you that you need Hashem in your life to really be successful and really be happy. Like that's a level of chutzpah. Like,
yeah, that's why we need to tell students and kids that like don't destroy even something like chutzpah. Don't destroy it. Just be creative and find a way, even as kids, that they can use it for good things. Like you said, like the bully could prevent other bullies from bullying. In school.
But actually, like I think that like the people who are able to make people feel the most heard are actually bullies. Because it's like a certain level of assertiveness that you have. Like a person's quiet, like, no, you're going to talk. I know that you have good stuff in you. You're going to talk. And like that uplifts people in a tremendous way. Like it's a skill that like only certain people have. Like I don't think that I possess it. But like I think that certain people, like they're able just to like stop and like acknowledge people. And I think that's part of bullying. Bullying is like often shutting that down. I don't know. It depends on the case. I'm like generalizing. Whatever you
Yeah,
generalize,
it's just an example. We can go through everything, but yeah, we don't. I think we made it clear. All right, it's almost 3 hours, and it's been quite a fun ride. And there's more to talk about, but maybe a part 2 later. Thank you for your time and effort, David.
I feel like very much part of the podcast culture now. Just two guys saying their opinions.
Yeah.
It's not like I studied it. There's no evidence. It's not whatever. It's good. People saying their opinions. Conversations to have.
And people want to hear it. Yeah. Baruch Hashem.
People want to be part of conversations. It's very important.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't ask you if I can say this, but I think it'll be fine. I could edit it out if need be. But when I asked you, David, and your response was, "But I'm not an interesting guy. I'm like a regular guy," and I'm like, on the contrary, maybe that's what people want to hear. People want to hear some so-called regular guy, and also, but on top of that, another point is, it tends to be the two people who have actually what to say, who have wisdom, are quiet and humble about it.
I don't know if that's the case about me, but these are my hair geshem. It's good to have some hair geshem.
Yeah, maybe I should have said that in the beginning. No. Like, so any last words?
I don't know. Strive to be better. Work on yourself. Learn more. Learn more about yourself. Learn more about the world. Mashiach now.
Mashiach now, very well. Yeah, I'm just also end off with the usual. I wanted to put this in the beginning, but never too late to subscribe, like, comment, and share to help the algorithm bring it to more people and bring Mashiach now. Thank you, David, again.
Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm agreeing. Said yes, like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, do it now. Bring Mashiach now. L'chaim.
L'chaim.